Jay Crawford, Adam the Bull, Garrett Bush, and so many big names, it would take me hours to say all of their names. The ultimate Cleveland sports show. Booyah!
Hey, we got a winner!
We
got a winner.
Dinner.
I ain't get no winner.
Pretty good Super Bowl game. As Super Bowls go, I thought it came right down to the end.
Yep.
It was hotly contested the whole time.
Great game.
The Chiefs end up winning. Thank goodness for that defensive touchdown, because you had a feeling when they got those free 7 points, that was going to be key, and it was. Welcome to the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show.
Special teams, because really
the punt
led to the other touchdown. I mean,
it's the longest punt return in Super Bowl history. I was kind of surprised by that.
2 years in a row, we've had games go right to the end.
The cast off from the Giants. And the Giants' faithful are beefing this morning.
Talent can be found from all places.
So the Giants made the right move getting rid of him.
Look, I logged into the thing. Of course, the Giants fans do what they do, just complain. That's it.
It was perfect. He played 2 games this year.
That's all right. He played
He's never on the field.
Listen,
when he's on the field, he's great.
You couldn't tell last night.
He was on the field last night.
Hey,
Smiling.
and he worked. When he's on,
he only
he's good,
made 2 plays, but they were both huge.
They were huge.
Kansas,
and we were talking
City
about the MVP until Mahomes made that long run at the end, right before the votes had to be in at the 2-minute warning.
Yeah.
I thought, gosh, I mean, there was really no standout player.
Who was it? We saw Jason Lloyd was in the building yesterday. We saw the Jason like, man, who's this MVP? He's like, well, I put my money on Mahomes, but until that little play, so he hit his 3rd touchdown, it was looking rough.
When in doubt, the quarterback of the winning team.
I actually think you could have argued. Yeah, I hate to do it, and I probably wouldn't have at the end, but Jalen Hurts was the best player in the game.
He's a beast.
Yeah, it's never going to go to the loser.
I know, but
I tell you what, though. I first of all, 2 observations. Mahomes is a beast. Yes, he is. Coming to play every time.
He's that dude.
Right? Never to be underestimated.
No.
Kelce is his hype man. Yes, he's hype man. He's a hype man. And then, secondly, Jalen Hurts, it wasn't just how he played yesterday. Did you see him in the press conference afterward?
I didn't.
He's straight class.
Eagles as a whole played with
straight class.
Showed a lot of class.
Well, the defensive back that was called for holding said, I grabbed his jersey.
Yeah, he did.
And I thought, okay, probably by the letter of the law. Yeah.
There's holding.
Maybe.
It's like the NBA. There's a foul on every play.
Times a game.
He held him twice. I thought it was
when you do it, when you take a look at one angle and you look at it and it's a real speed, it don't even look that much. Just like he did him like this.
First of all,
I think it stands out because I thought the referees were a non-factor until that point the entire game. They kind of let everything was there weren't a lot of calls. They let a lot go.
Right, which was, I thought that call was in that vein.
Yeah, it was
was
borderline.
it defensive holding? Yeah, it was.
In the end of a game, the referee should never be visible.
Yeah, you're right.
Never.
Too often they are. We've got a lot to get into.
Yeah.
We're going to talk a lot about the Super Bowl, the key plays. Was Kansas City actually the better team? We'll get into all that. But first, we've got to do Bull's bet, right? Did you win your first one? It was last Friday.
I did not. No, my first bet was Travis Kelce scoring the first touchdown of the game.
Oh, that's right.
He scored the Chiefs' first touchdown, but he did not score the first touchdown of the game. So I did lose that at plus 700, whatever it was. So every day, Bet Rivers, which is where my new podcast will be held, most likely starting 2 weeks from today, is giving me a couple of options. They're giving me like 3 options or 4 options.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, they're throwing a few at me, and then I'm picking the one that I like the most. And so today they offered me 4 options. Browns, all future odds. Browns to win the Super Bowl, Browns to win the AFC, Guardians to win the American League, Guardians to win the World Series. Now, there were different odds on the 4, but the one I went with, you guys have it up here or no?
I do it. I got to do the read at some point. So
I went with Guardians winning it all.
Winning it all?
Yes.
Wow.
Because my thought was the Guardians plus 2,700 is a huge number.
That is
right?
Very big, considering there's 30 teams.
Right. And I think the Browns winning the Super Bowl was only plus 3,500. And I was like, it shouldn't be that close. The Guardians have a much better chance of winning the World Series, in my opinion, than the Browns do of winning the Super Bowl. And so ultimately, I decided to go with the World Series because I figured if the Guardians can get to the World Series, well, then they could win it, certainly. If they could beat the Yankees or the Astros, who are, I think will be the 2 best teams in the American League this year, then I think they can beat anybody from the National League too. And that's my Bet Rivers best bet of the week.
Throw 100 down to win 2,700. What the hell?
Hey,
you never know. Those are always fun bets to place because you obviously got to be patient. It's a long-term bet.
Right.
I don't know what that says. It might say to me that even though the Guardians are at the top of the top probably 10 teams in Major League Baseball, the chasm between even them and 1, 2, and 3 is so great. That's probably why it's offered at 2,700.
It is, but as we know in baseball, that chasm in a baseball series can be busted up easier than in football.
In football, it's so difficult.
To me, at the moment, now it changes if Deshaun Watson plays like an all-pro again.
Right.
But at the moment, the Bengals, Chiefs, and Bills are all significantly ahead of the Browns.
They are.
And so I can't right now to expect the Browns to beat 2, and most likely would have to beat at least 2 of those 3 teams, even if they made the playoffs. I can't. There's no way I could.
What was the odds? Do you remember for them to win the American League? I like that bet.
I don't remember it offhand, but
probably significantly less.
Yes,
but
I think they're probably the third favorite of the American League.
They were, a game from getting to the ALCS last year.
That's right.
We missed you at the party. I know your boy's sick, and I
really missed being there.
We missed you there. We certainly missed you, Brad. But damn, we ate some food yesterday, guys.
Heard the pizza was good. It was
we
the same
ate food.
pizza
It was
from last time.
Giannino's.
Man,
great pizza and wings. This official supplier of the Crawford residents hosting parties.
Let me tell you this.
Shout out to them.
Shout out.
Listen, Jay's wife, Tracy, held it down so tough.
She can throw a party.
The real MVP.
Oh, man.
No question.
First of all, that's the blueprint for all you young dudes out here that want to throw events. That's the standard. There's a lot of things I learned with my note. First of all, she had multiple spreads everywhere. There was different stations, and there was.
Your dad loved the chicken, the buffalo chicken dip.
Oh, what you mean?
Which is my favorite.
What you mean, just him? That was me too.
Yeah, no.
Me. I was eating it by the spoonful. I didn't need chips. I didn't need buns. I had a plastic spoon.
It's good either way. You can throw it on the bun for a sandwich,
crazy.
or you can just dip anything in it. And it's great.
Jason Lloyd's wife bought these meatballs. I destroyed them.
Tremendous.
I got busy on those, and I ate these cookies.
Was Anthony's mom's cookies or different?
Yes, Anthony's mom's cookies were delicious.
There was a pretzel dip that I've never had before.
Ever.
It
was like a sweet something.
It was sweet.
Yeah.
It was outrageous. Salted caramel something.
It's sea salt caramel.
Divine.
It was, and pretzels are the perfect dip for that because they've already got salt on them, but it's a sweet and sort of, salty mix. Oh my God. We tried that. They were selling packets of it. It's a mix at the boat show. And normally I walk right by those stands. Something about food out in public.
Right.
Everybody, but they just opened this one and I saw them. I'm like,
let me
I'll
try that. I'll try that.
Yeah.
So I dipped a pretzel in it and I ate it. I looked at my wife and I said, we need these. We need these mixes.
Nice.
We got
so
to have.
good.
Was your son in town?
No, he had a meet and they had an invitational at University of Arkansas. So he was much to his chagrin. And then he had to I had to go on a recruiting trip early on Super Bowl Sunday, and then he was home.
How they do in Arkansas? 'Cause that's tough over there.
It's really tough. So it was an elite invitational, and he did very well. Pole vaulter finished second.
Okay.
And this is really a good precursor to the NCAA championships.
Arkansas is always ranked 1 or 2.
Oh yeah,
always.
There's no
His
question.
best long jumper
That's why I asked it.
Was hurt. Would have been the favorite to win it. He's kind of nursing a hamstring, which my son did his senior year too. But his second best long jumper finished, I think, 5th, and just lost by a centimeter for 4th, a centimeter for 3rd, a centimeter for 2nd. 2 kids from Arkansas finished above him, but he had a really good showing. They finished 2nd in the 200, which typically is an event that Rutgers hasn't dominated in. They're very good in the vertical jumps, but they did well. Then Big Tens at Spire.
Yeah, Spire.
In 2 weeks.
Is it in 2 weeks?
It's such a fun event.
The indoor?
Of course, it's the best indoor facility, I think, in the world. It's the biggest and best in the United States. But if you're a track fan and you just love to watch great athletes and great competition, the Big Ten championship is close to as good as it gets. I think the SEC has more depth, but the Big Tens are fun.
I'm always surprised that it has Spire. Right, I understand why it's at Spire.
It's a world-class facility.
Right.
I know, because you think about it, there isn't a Big Ten institution within 3 hours.
Right.
Ohio State's the closest. Penn State is further. But it's so good, and they put on such a good meet. And every time I walk in there, I've got great memories because my son has won a couple of Big Ten championships indoor there. And you just walk in and you flash back to those days and those struggles and those moments.
I
fun.
really wish they would have built Spire in Cleveland. I really do.
I wish it was closer, too.
Yeah,
Is that the academy?
Spire Academy.
LaMelo Ball played?
Yes, exactly.
Yep.
What is that?
So it's basically, IMG. Are you familiar with IMG down in Sarasota, Bradenton?
Yeah.
So it's basically the IMG of the North.
Yeah.
They have Ryan Lochte called their pool the best swimming pool he's ever been in, and just in terms of the facility, it's an Olympic size, obviously, but his times are very fast there for some reason. I don't know why. The track facility, world class, best. Some guy just decided he wanted to build this for his hometown of Geneva.
Yeah.
And he wanted to host all of these, national and international events there.
First class.
He over-speculated. He spent way too much money. This group from IMG, when he was selling it, saw it as a great opportunity. And they bought it for, I believe, 11 cents on the dollar on original investment.
Yeah, I remember.
I think the original owner had over $100 million in it,
Yeah.
and they got it for like $15 million. Wow. And when you walk in, those numbers could be off, but you walk in and it's just like
they got it for a steal.
They got it for a steal. And they're expanding too. The U.S. wrestling team trains there.
They're diving
They want to get. I think that
Big Ten
down
diving.
the road they want to put a couple of ice sheets, hold some Olympic events.
AAU basketball, all of us
hockey,
there.
And figure skating. They have basketball already. Beautiful courts, ton of them. Volleyball, soccer, lacrosse, everything.
McNuggets, put that on the list of places we're going to do live when we get to technology.
I actually know
That
a
is
kid
great.
I covered in Texas, a high school basketball player, is at Spire right now, Zion Ali.
Yeah.
I saw he scored 13 points yesterday against whoever they played.
Yeah.
And I know LaMelo had played there, and they had a couple other high D1 kids.
They did.
Oh, yeah.
I wasn't sure exactly what the equivalent is, but that makes sense as IMG.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
the
very
Northern
nice.
IMG.
Very nice. And the people that run it now and own it now do a great job. When they closed the Olympic Training Center in California, because they were really restrictive on COVID, and at the same time they were canceling the Olympics. But my son wanted to continue to train, being optimistic
So
that maybe they would have them the next year, which they did. Spire was kind enough to invite Corey there.
Okay.
And he trained there every day. They also hired him to coach, because what it is it's an academy. It's a high school.
Yeah.
They're publicly recognized, accredited, and they bring in world-class teachers to teach these kids. So they're getting a very, very high-level, top-ranked education. And then also they had people like Corey coaching their track and field kids.
And they play Cleveland Public. I mean, I think they play Garfield. But
How do they do against the Publics when they venture?
kill 'em.
I would think they would.
Because you got all D1 players.
Yeah.
You're killing them, right?
By the way, speaking of Rutgers, the leading rusher in the Super Bowl.
How about that?
Isaiah Pacheco.
Yeah, how about that?
I had to give you credit. He bought out. The one thing I saw about Philadelphia, why Philadelphia can't win, they don't have no backs. The only back is Jalen Hurts. I mean,
Well,
Miles Sanders
is
finished
hit or
4th in the
miss.
NFL
They
in
didn't
rushing
give him
this
the
year,
ball
so-
that much.
Yeah,
They
that was a big surprise to me that they didn't feed him more. And
They
the other
couldn't
one was
run the ball, really.
When you talk about the Eagles, I think everybody was in agreement. As good as their receiving core was, I thought the heartbeat of that team was their defensive line. They had 70 sacks collectively over the season.
They were a
4
non-factor.
guys. They never whispered. I mean, they were a rumor in the game.
And they ran, and the Chiefs and Pacheco was able to run on them. I mean, he ran for over 5 yards a carry.
What I did notice
the
was
Eagles couldn't run the ball at all outside of Hurts.
What I did-
Hurts played great. Outside
really
of
did
that fumble,
play
which was a
well.
horrible
But he made up
play.
for it. He made up for
Yeah.
the next series.
That was bad. I don't know what the hell happened there.
I don't either.
Besides that play, he was phenomenal. He
back
made
now.
every throw.
came
And he
back.
would have been the MVP had they won. That
Oh,
was,
easy.
that was
He
a
came
given.
back and got it the next play, but what he did show people, 4th and 1, he not throwing no trick plays. 4th and 1, the Eagles like
We laughed
get,
about
Oh,
that.
yeah.
get behind.
We
him.
talked about him squatting 1,000 pounds.
That little scrum play is undefeated.
Yeah.
Like, that little rugby scrum play that they run, you gonna see that all over the league.
Look, you had
They're gonna manage
Yeah,
it.
Chris,
I think they're gonna
Chris
manage it.
Jones jumping over the pile.
Right. And he still got ways
They are
out.
going to look at the push, because you put a defensive tackle and an offensive lineman back there, it's undefeated. You're just going to push him. I don't care how big the pile is defensively.
No, you gotta-
Someone that's got that sturdy a base like he does.
You got to get like the rugby boys and get down in the weeds here. Now, I'll tell you
Is
what,
that your speculation, or have you heard?
I actually saw on Twitter, I'll find the
well,
tweet, but I think Pelissero said the NFL, he expects him to take a look at that
I-
play.
It used to be you couldn't do
No,
that.
it was absolute. Remember
Yeah.
the Bush push
The Bush
Right.
push, exactly.
for USC, and then it just was always illegal, but now it's like a cheat code.
The NFL,
and the NFL, to their credit, and I saw the interview with Roger Goodell a couple of days ago, his state of the league, and he said something that I really had kind of forgotten about the NFL that I really like. In the offseason, their competition committee looks at every single rule and decides.
It's good they do that. They don't get it right.
No, they don't get it right, but at least they look at it.
Well, instead of looking at every rule, I'm gonna get a competition committee and Roger Goodell some information. I mean, some opinion here. Where about the field?
That was not good.
Awful.
Yeah, that was not
awful.
good.
That was
somebody had joked at the party on the game-winning field goal. Watch that plant foot.
I looked at it.
They just put the field. That grass was just put in.
No, because
So it
Kansas
was
City had
wrong.
played there earlier in the year, and they were complaining about the field then.
Well, this is the field where that whole stadium, that whole field, rolls out into the parking lot.
Right.
And my question to that is, if it rolls out into the parking lot, I don't know how deep it goes.
Yeah.
But to me, it was a root problem. If the grass roots were not in.
Yeah.
And I don't know why. I'm not sure what the hell happened, but
It's not good. But in the end, fantastic game.
Oh, yeah.
I give it a 10 out of 1 to 10.
Fantastic game.
It was a great game. I think one point I wanted to make this morning, I think the triumvirate of Reid, Mahomes, and Kelce is the modern day Gronk, Belichick, Brady. They are the Holy Trinity. And
Mahomes is a competitor.
Well, I actually think I wouldn't
player.
put either of those triumvirates number one. How about that?
Who you got?
well, you're wrong.
Bill Walsh, Joe Montana, Jerry Rice. Boom.
I'll tell you, as much as I'd love to agree with that, they did it at a time where player movement wasn't nearly as prevalent. In that era, guys started their careers, and for the most part, and I know that Joe Montana didn't because that was the beginning of player movement era.
Right.
But that was at a time when if you drafted a Joe Montana, you kept a Joe Montana.
To the end.
Right, but other teams got to keep their players too.
They did, but
so it was equal.
So the apples to apples comparison is the juggernaut in that era versus the juggernaut in the player movement era. And Brady and Bill and the Patriots were so good at manipulating and managing the player movement era that they were what they did was they found out, I thought Kraft found out, what are the pieces I must secure? Bill and Tom. And other than that, the other guys were kind of like pawns on the chessboard.
Right.
And they managed that so beautifully. But you're right. The Montana, Rice, and
Bill
Walsh, my goodness.
I think Andy Reid, now to me, as I watch it, is the greatest offensive mind ever to touch the pen in the league.
I don't agree with that.
He to me, you know why he's the greatest? Because he does it at such a level where when they had touchdowns, right?
Oh,
he's scheming people
wide open.
Yeah.
And we called that too, by the way. As we're watching the game, we're like, they're going to score.
Those 2 touchdowns.
And someone's going to be open there's not going to be anybody within 20 feet.
I'm like, where are the defenders? And this is a great Philadelphia team. And Travis Kelce said it best. He said, stop it, man.
Look.
I got Mahomes and Reid. Are you kidding me?
Let me tell you something. Andy Reid, they ran him out of Philly, right? They ran him out of Philly.
Yeah, they did.
And he has become just the epitome of what a player's coach is. And I'm going to just tell you this other thing. Let me tell you why I like Andy Reid. He doesn't do it so much with his coaching. He does a great job. It's that State Farm commercial with the marker on the
That is so good.
I like that commercial.
Good
We're
acting.
going to get to the end of this.
I'm going to get to the bottom of this. That's so good.
They're like they're doing Ring Around the Rosie in crunch time.
By the way, if Kevin Stefanski done that, you guys would be killing him today.
Yes,
you'd be killing him.
Yes,
Not if he won the Super Bowl.
Yeah, you'd be killing him.
If he won the Super Bowl, I'd be applauding it.
But we were Ring Around the Rosie.
We were joking on all the
Good coaches don't do Ring Around the Rosie. They don't be saying that, Mike.
Oh my God, Jacoby Brissett's coming into the game. Here he comes.
Jacoby Brissett would have got a lot of burn on them 4th and 1.
You know, to your point, and it sounds like it's, Duke and knee jerk.
Yes.
It sounds like it because this is just his 2nd Super Bowl title.
Yeah.
But the eye test, it means something. Mm-hmm. We're watching. I loved how he used Travis Kelce in these big situations. I jokingly said, well, we know where the ball's going here. And so did the Eagles. And Andy Reid said, nope. I've got such confidence in my other guys.
Yeah.
I'm going to send him in motion. I'm going to suck the defense over here, and there's going to be somebody that everyone forgets about that's
Right
wide
over
open
here.
over here.
And everybody talked about defense wins championships. Wasn't the case.
No, not at
Great
all.
Eagles defensive line. They didn't do squat. The Chiefs offensive line dominated the ball.
They did.
The Chiefs were balanced. The Eagles were not. Eagles dominated time of possession. It didn't matter.
Hell, at one point they were 2-1 on the yard differential,
Yeah.
and it was a tie ball game.
Yeah.
When that game, I believe the Eagles were up, and we were talking about it. We said I think it was 27 or 21 or something like that.
Yeah, they were kicking field goals.
They
And
were
we
kicking
said
the
at the
field
time
goal.
that's how they're going to lose.
I say go for it.
if
I was
you-
adamant.
Yeah, I wanted to talk to Bull about that. Tell him the situation
Go ahead.
on the 4th and
Yeah.
6 when they kicked the field goal. Were you yelling for them to go for it there?
When the Eagles,
It
When
was
the Eagles-
21-24.
It was 24-21.
Eagles had the ball.
It was 4th and 6, and they decided to kick the field goal. McNuggets was screaming right away.
I would have 100% gone for a touchdown
yeah,
there.
and McNuggets said the same
He
thing.
did it the whole game. He went for it on 4th down.
Well,
They
they've
got
done
it
all
every
year.
time.
Now, I will say this.
It was a little longer.
6 a little long.
And that's the thing. So stats can be very misleading sometimes. The reason that they had the best 4th down percentage in the NFL this year was because of what we saw last night on 3rd and short and 4th and short. They've got a quarterback with the strongest legs in the league, and they do this, massive bull rush from behind. So it worked. But 4th and 6, that's a risky proposition.
Here's why I would have done it. Because in my mind, if I'm the Eagles, if I'm what the hell's their coach's name again? I can't think of it.
Sirianni.
Sirianni. I'm like, well, when the Chiefs get the ball, I'm going to assume there's a good chance they're going to score a touchdown.
Yeah.
And so, what's the difference if I'm up 3 or 6?
That was exactly my point, Bull.
Yeah, that's what.
I'm down
but
either way with a
Again,
touchdown.
to me, the 60 minutes is a game of collecting points, the most you can get. And I understand the risk reward that goes along with it. I thought that the risk of getting nothing there was too big.
Yeah, so was I.
So I'm collecting points.
But
Give
that's
me
what
the 3.
that's what he did all game. That's what he's done all year.
He has, but on 4th and 6, they're not going for it all year on 4th and 6. They're just not.
Well, I'm sure they have. I mean, not all year.
I don't
on
know
4th
what
and
the
6.
fourth. I don't know
But
what their
also,
stats are, but I don't
Yeah.
remember.
But also, Bull, all year they did trust their defense. So they got after quarterbacks. They had a lot of guys up for the defensive line. If you go for 3, you tell your defense, look, man, all y'all got to do is hold
Yeah,
them
but
to
gee,
3.
their
Right?
defense was not dominating the game.
They hadn't. I think Kansas City punted 2 or 3 times, maybe.
Yeah, and the Chiefs' offensive line is just as good as the Eagles' defensive line.
But we did not hear that. We did not hear that going into that.
Oh, I said that. Nobody was listening. No, I said it.
99% of the world was like, "Oh no, the Eagles is dominant."
And let's be honest, the Eagles' defensive line is better. They didn't play better last night, but they are
But they
better.
didn't play because they were also playing another great unit in the Chiefs' offensive line.
Well, that
And
was the equalizer.
That was it.
But the other thing was, too, and they talked about this during the telecast, that the Eagles came into this game with the mindset that we want Mahomes to throw the football at 2.5 seconds or sooner. Now, that was the Chiefs' game plan all along, smartly.
Get it out.
Because of his ankle.
Because of his ankle.
Yeah.
Get it out.
So it's almost one of those things, as when the announcer said that, I'm like, wow, careful what you wish for.
Yeah.
Because obviously the longer Mahomes can extend plays, the more damage he can do. But on a limited wheel, like he
Yeah.
was, I thought maybe it would have been a better play to try to come wide from the edges, keep him in the pocket, and don't give him those quick short throws. Because everything was 1-2 out. It was so fast the way they did it.
What's amazing is, like, Mahomes gets hurt against Jacksonville, and he still wins that game. All right, Jacksonville's not that good. But on a bad wheel, he beats the Bengals, who are arguably the 3rd best team in football.
Right.
Then he re-injures it at the end of the first half of the Super Bowl against arguably the 1st or 2nd best team in football, and he dominates in the second half.
It's not even.
I mean,
he's a player.
It's insane.
It's not close.
No, he's
This guy is capable.
I don't know what you guys thought, but at the party, the general consensus was he's got a lot of drama to him. His ankle is always okay when they're moving the ball and he's scoring touchdowns. It's always after a pick, or in this case, it was a sack on 3rd down, which forced a punt. And he looked like
Well,
he got shot with a cannon in his
What are you saying?
ankle.
He's making it up?
I'm not saying he's making it up. I think there's a little flop to him, and I think there is a little
I don't buy that.
you know, the real nasty limp, and then as soon as he runs the ball the next time, he's off like a dart.
Well, you know, listen, if you turn your ankle, if you sprain your ankle, and then even when you come back and you hit it again, you're going to limp like that.
And he probably got shot up at halftime.
And I'll tell you this, though. Here's a kid that grew up in a locker room. You could tell that.
Yeah,
His father
no
was a
question.
professional baseball player.
Yeah.
You could tell he had been around sports. He's not. And the thing I like about Mahomes, he ain't quit on you.
No.
You're like, nah, I'll be all right.
Doesn't no quit. One of the things that we pointed out last night while we were watching the game, and it made me angry, because I was rooting for Kansas City because I do like to watch dynasties and greatness in action.
A lot to learn from that.
One thing that I commented on that drove me nuts was after the Eagles scored the drive to go up 28-27.
Okay.
They took a shot of the sideline, and I counted 7 different Chiefs players screaming and pointing and emoting and leading. Mm-hmm. And I even said at the time, when have we ever seen that from the Browns sideline?
Chris Jones went off.
Ever.
Chris Jones went
He
off.
went off for the first
Jones
half.
did go off in the first half.
We saw receivers. We saw defensive line. We saw Pachenko. We saw.
They were all doing it.
Everybody was focused and lit.
You're locked in.
And when people say everybody does not get emotional, there's only a couple people not allowed getting emotional.
Quarterback and
that's
coach?
the quarterback and the coach.
Yep.
Everybody else, you better be playing off emotion. If you're not ready to go, I'm telling you, like when we do these drills and you go do this stuff and you do this high intensity workouts, go watch what people do during the off season. If you not communicating, if you ain't amped up, we starting over. Start this drill right on over.
Gee, I tell you who came to life. Juju Smith-Schuster came to life.
Yeah.
He came to life.
He had 7 catches. The rest of the playoffs,
we ain't seen him.
4 combined, right?
But yesterday,
you had 2 excellent teams who both played excellent football overall. And I know one of the questions was, were the Eagles the better team? I don't think so. In the end, no. I think
if they played that game 10 times, how many did the Chiefs win?
I think it's probably 6-4 Chiefs. Could be 5-5. I mean, I think they're really close.
That's a 5-5.
They're really good.
It looked like a 5-5.
I think
that's a 5-5.
I mean, it's 2 great teams. You have
the good thing is
I think the things that killed them were
the fumble,
and if someone would have told you before the game, KC's going to get a free 7 spot.
Yeah.
Okay, now your question is, well, then how
right.
the hell are the Eagles going to be?
Right.
Because every line had this within a point or two.
Right.
And you wondered at that moment, because Hurts had played great before that, and you wondered at that moment, okay, is he going to kind of fall apart here?
Right.
But he didn't. He had
great.
that bad moment. He played great again.
His deep ball touchdown, though, was a bad throw. The
one that
receiver
AJ caught?
Yes.
Yeah.
Brown just made a great adjustment.
Well, I don't know if it was a bad throw. It wasn't a great throw.
It
wasn't a great throw, but
it was just a matter of, Brown made the adjustment to come back to the ball,
was a great
and
catch.
the defensive back just got beat.
His arm strength hasn't been the same since he got hurt.
I've noticed that.
It factored in, but I think the bottom line to me is I believe in Jalen Hurts.
Yeah.
I mean,
I became more of a believer.
He
last
showed
night.
a lot of toughness. Coming back from that injury, he had no running game aside. The whole running game was him. They couldn't run the ball yesterday.
I could see why his teammates follow him. Right?
Yeah, he's a leader.
He's a leader.
No
You
doubt.
can see, and here's a guy who's been kicked, been down,
got
been
benched
doubted,
in the national championship game.
Been doubted,
Yeah.
resurrected himself, right? Bet on himself. And every time when somebody comes back with the naysay, he comes back a little harder. And when I tell you, if you get a chance, go watch the post-game interview, and he talks about it, right?
Yeah, that quote right there is pretty profound, because lessons are learned in defeat.
Yep.
And it's what you do with those lessons and how you manifest them moving forward. Does it enrage you? Does it empower you? Does it motivate you? And that quote sounds like
you don't have many people in Philly. Remember when he first got there, they were calling for his head. They were like, "Why'd you get this kid? This kid's a terrible selection."
Yeah.
And even when he got to play, they're like, "Oh Lord, we can't win with this guy." You don't get many people saying that in Philly now, right?
No.
Who would you rather have the next 5 years, Jalen Hurts or Lamar Jackson?
I think Jalen Hurts.
I'm taking Jalen Hurts.
Me too.
He's more sturdy. He's thicker. He's definitely stronger.
The leader.
And for what they're doing, tucking the ball and running a lot, I think that we're seeing the ultimate question of Lamar Jackson was sustainability. And I think that there were varying answers. Well, you could do that for 2 years and you're going to wear out. Then others would say 4 years. But everybody agreed on this. He won't be playing when Tom Brady, at Tom Brady's age.
Well,
like
nobody
that.
will, though.
No, but
Right.
when you rely that heavily on that part of the game, you have to be a great thrower of the football, but you also have to be built, sturdy
In fairness
enough
to
to
Lamar,
take that.
look at the team that Jalen Hurts has around him compared to Lamar.
Yeah, I know. But Lamar did have some pretty good cast characters around him at times.
Not on offense.
They finished 14-2 the year they lost in the first
No,
round.
I know,
I mean, that was a one hell of a team.
Defense, he's at, but he hasn't had the
Well,
great.
he was the offense when they were 14-2.
Right.
And I look at so much now. To me, I look at the way you call games and the way you scheme things up, your playbook. If you look at it, the difference between this Eagles offense and Lamar Jackson's offense is Lamar Jackson plays with the game condensed, right? There's guys in the middle of the field, so yes, he can run the ball, but there's not very many opportunities where he is just clean running and he doesn't get tackled in the middle of the field by somebody. You watch Philadelphia, everything's wide. They stop you with the RPO game. They throw it quick. They get out of here. And Jalen Hurts, when he's running, he's usually running or scrambling when there's no one around or it's one guy. I got to make him miss.
I would say this, G, and because I feel like I'm a little prisoner moment because even though I'm arguing Lamar, I would actually take Jalen Hurts. So maybe it's a little prisoner moment. I think Jalen Hurts sees the field better than Lamar Jackson does.
That's fair.
I think Jalen Hurts is
Jalen Hurts made some
looking to
unbelievable
throw
throws.
still when he's running.
Yeah, once Lamar decides to go, he's gone.
It's gone. Yeah. And there are plays where
And by
Jalen
the way,
Hurts
that's
is-
exactly what Mahomes does. I mean,
he's
Mahomes,
always
all the way
looking to throw.
until he gets to the line of scrimmage,
Right.
he's
Yes,
cocked
yes.
and ready
He's
to go.
pump faking 6 yards downfield.
I know he is. Yesterday he did that. He was way
Mahomes-
past the line of scrimmage. But sometimes defenders lose that in the moment. Maybe they think he's behind the line of scrimmage and they buy it.
I think Mahomes, there's zero doubt in my mind that as long as Mahomes doesn't have some sort of career-changing injury, that he will ultimately be the greatest quarterback ever.
Wow, I can't go that far. But let me ask you this.
Yeah.
If he retires, comes out tomorrow and says, guys, I've taken too many hits to the head that I haven't told you guys about, and for the health, my long-term health, and for my family, I am calling it a career. Mm-hmm. Is he a first ballot Hall of Famer if he does that?
Yes.
No
He is for me, too.
No doubt.
100%.
No
I
doubt.
don't think there's even a doubt.
Has there ever been a player better, more impactful in their first 5 years? I don't think there could be.
No, although, and this is this is going to be really difficult as we watch this unfold. This is the beginning of Brady's career, too. I mean,
But Brady wasn't as good as Mahomes.
No, Kansas City is winning because of Mahomes.
Right.
The first couple of Super Bowls, the Patriots won because of their defense. Now, later they became an offensive juggernaut.
Just like with Roethlisberger in his first
Exactly
Super Bowl.
like Roethlisberger.
He was kind of along for the ride.
Right. So, I mean, to say the greatest of all time, you have to project him out to win 5 more.
I don't think so because I have LeBron ahead of Michael, even though Michael's won more championships.
Right.
Sorry, Brad.
Yeah, no.
But
What? What did you say? What?
I said I got LeBron ahead
What
of
did you
Michael.
say? What did you say?
Yeah, blasphemy.
What did you say?
everybody here, I think, is LeBron ahead of Michael.
No, they don't.
Brad, we're gonna get to the old
No, they don't.
new player
Sorry.
stuff later.
Yeah,
Do
that's
not worry.
hold that fire.
Do not,
It's
hold
blasphemous.
this
Stop
to
it.
then.
Hold that
this
fire.
to later.
Here's a question that it's fun, but I thought that they would show Donna Kelce 20 times during the telecast.
They did.
Because they were the overriding big story coming in. I only saw her, I think, twice.
I saw her once with AI 1320. Nobody knows.
I counted 2 times. And then they showed her sitting with Goodell and DeMar Hamlin.
Please refer to Goodell by.
I did see that.
Please refer to Goodell by his robot name AI 1320.
What do you call him?
AI 1320, artificial intelligence. There's no way. He's either a human being, he's either a robot, or the most disingenuous, phony human being of all time.
Yeah, he told some lies during the
my
State
boy
of
right
the
here.
Oh my
He
God.
told some lies
That's
during
my
the State
boy
of
right
the
here. He's always on him.
Somebody asked a question about now.
What is that?
You can debate a lot about what you see on the field.
Right.
The one thing that you cannot debate is the officiating this year took a huge step back. It was a major storyline all year long.
Yeah.
And there was a line of questioning about the lack of quality officials.
Okay.
And Goodell, upon hearing the question, paused a second. He's like, Well, first of all, I disagree with some of your premises. I think that our officiating was fantastic this year. I mean, when you break it down, there's over 20,000 plays during the course of the season, and multiple infractions could or could not be called on many plays. So you're talking about hundreds of thousands of decisions. Are there going to be some that are wrong? Sure, they're human. But I disagree with your premise. I think our officiating's never been better. And I'm just and he took a lot of criticism by that. A lot of longtime NFL observers, not with a 5 or 10 year body of work to lean on. Guys that have been doing this for 30 years just said,
there's a number,
Roger, no.
There's a number of things to get on Goodell about, starting with Colin Kaepernick.
My thing, what shocked me was he stood there and told that lie with a smile. And
he doesn't care. Because
he really doesn't. He's just disingenuous, and he just can bald-face sit there and spin untruths.
Why can't he do it? Because of what?
Because he's making a lot of money for the owners.
Yes.
Yeah.
How much is he getting paid?
Well, he's getting paid what he's making because he's making a lot of money for the owners.
He's making a lot of money.
When he leaves, they'll place an ad, and here's what the ad will read. Job description. Make 32 of the richest men in America even more wealthy.
You remember
that's what his objective is at any cost.
Remember when they thought Goodell was bucking the system and the owners was starting to collude together on him? He tightened up his game so fast and went back to them so fast. I was like, ooh.
There are different things that the NFL could be doing. I don't see enough technology used.
I don't either.
Like for it to be where we are technologically speaking, there should be no questions on first downs. There should be no questions on touchdowns. There should be really no questions on a lot of these.
Yeah, why is there not a sensor in the ball?
There's supposed to be a chip in the ball by now. We talked about the World Cup final. The thing that I most enjoyed watching about the World Cup final was that in a matter of seconds, after all of the questionable, now onside or offsides in soccer is very difficult for a human eye to call because these guys are running 18 miles an hour and was the defender at a certain point when the ball was past him? Well, they would just go directly to the video freeze frame and they would go these little cool laser sensor outlines and show both players in question and the ball at the moment of when that call needs to be decided. And then you could see, 1 inch from his left pinky is over the line. And that's offsides.
And they're able to use technology in tennis real well. Now, those sports are easier to officiate than football. I get it. Well, but still. And
we don't have any of that, though.
I still don't understand why we don't have the eye in the sky official for every game. I don't get it.
I know.
And again, if you can't change, to me, always the point of replay in sports was to get the obvious call right.
Yes.
When it's a mistake. Not to break down a fingernail touching a base at second base and whether that fingernail slipped off. If you can't get it right quickly, then move on.
Let me ask you this. There were 2 controversial calls.
Yeah.
One was the catch, no catch, which would have been another defensive touchdown for Kansas City.
Yeah.
The ball, I think it was Sanders, but I could be wrong. The ball was caught, and as soon as he caught it, he turned, took a step, and bam, he was pounded.
Right.
Ball came free. Kansas City picked it up.
No catch.
No catch was the ruling.
Yeah.
The other one was on the Goddard throw to the sideline. The ball looked like
that was incomplete, but
still moving, and then was his first foot down.
It was so close.
It was
that was hard to tell.
It was so close.
And I was okay with both of those calls.
It's like baseball. Tie goes to the runner. That's how close
I think the only thing...
or the call on the field in this case.
Honestly, outside of the holding call late, there was really no talk about refs at all.
It was great until the last... That's why I said,
why
inject yourself at the end?
I don't think it's injecting...
Listen, you let grown men solve it on the field.
Watch how emotions play a part of this. The one thing that I love that Kevin Burkhardt said last night, no, I take it back. It was Scott Van Pelt when he did the highlights later in the evening. He said, your perspective on a lot of these calls basically comes down to who you were rooting for.
Yeah.
And that's true. We know that to be true. So let me do this. G. Bush said something so funny. He goes, when it was a minute to go and Kansas City was driving, he goes, hey, we can't watch a Super Bowl with the Browns were in it, with all of us in one place, because right now we'd all be throwing up.
We would. We can't
imagine. Now I'm going to tell you the Eagles are the Browns.
Okay.
And Kansas City is driving.
We throwing up.
Greg Newsom does the little grabby.
Yeah.
And we see the flag come out.
Everybody in the city.
Is that defensive holding now?
No.
Hell no.
But if the Browns were the Chiefs, we would all been calling for that to be a penalty.
That's why it's in the eye of the beholder.
Exactly.
It's your point of view in that moment.
And right there, if you freeze frame it down right there.
He pulled it twice, by the way.
He did pull it
yeah,
twice. He did.
But
But if you watch it in real time and fast,
It's
it
like,
don't even look like
and let me ask you this. How many plays this year have you seen worse with no laundry throw?
Oh, hundreds.
A lot.
Let me tell you something, Jay. You could call a foul on every basketball play.
could.
Yes, you could.
Yes,
you call the travel just about on every play. Yes, you could. Sometimes you just have to let it ride, right?
Yeah.
I wish they would not have called it. You can't, as an Eagles fan, you can't say the league's cheating or any of this nonsense. That's nonsense. I think we all wish it wouldn't get called. I think the Chiefs probably would have won anyway because I don't think the Eagles would have gone down and scored. But obviously we all wanted to see if that would happen.
One thing that I said at the time the one thing that was driving me nuts watching Philadelphia, they let the play clock get way too close
like
to
every
the time.
play.
Now, I'm going to offer up the NFL. Roger, if you're listening, competition committee, if you're listening, I am so sick and tired of you guys not being able to figure this out. It's driving me nuts. You always hear that the process is the back judge is looking at the ball. And when the ball is snapped, he then looks at the clock to see if it's zero. There's a human delay in there. There were two plays.
Where it hits zero and they're snapping.
There were two plays yesterday where the ball was snapped more than a boom, boom. It was like a half second, and they didn't call it. Now, they did call it once.
They did call it once.
Here's how you fix that. The back judge has a buzzer. It's tied to the play clock. When that play clock hits zero, his buzzer goes off. He doesn't need to look and find a clock.
Jay,
if he feels the buzzer, he blows the whistle,
Jay,
and it's delay of game.
You don't have to do that. It's basically a shot clock. The shot clock has an alarm on it.
Yeah, but
when it goes off.
In certain stadium situations, so that would be very difficult to hear.
Let me tell you something. They got enough technology to put enough speakers up in here.
Sometimes they don't even hear a player or a referee whistle, though. So
they need to figure it out
But
some
the other
way,
thing, the reason I brought that up is I kept saying they're playing with fire here. At one point, they took the 5-yard penalty. Sirianni was super hot.
Yeah.
He
because he wasn't going to waste the time.
laid into the offensive
and
coordinator.
later they had to use the timeout.
And when they used that timeout, Jason was sitting behind me. I turned around to Jason and I said, how much do you think they're going to need that when the game comes down to crunch time? They could have stopped the clock and gotten the ball with about 50 seconds to go. If they had that timeout.
35, 40 maybe.
No, because remember, the field goal happened with 11 seconds. So if you would have throw 35 seconds onto that, they would have had 50 seconds. Now, all they would have needed was a field goal. So you give me Jalen Hurts 50 seconds.
Yeah.
I got a chance.
So I'm going back to the shot clock thing. So light up the goalpost with the lights like the buzzer around the
however you do it doesn't matter.
Somebody here
to the point of
somebody
sees we need more
what is
technology.
going on.
I know, but really, the buzzer on the hip of an official is fine because the way it's working now is. He sees the ball snapped and then looks at the clock to see if it's at zero.
It doesn't matter. However they want to do it, it should be able to be
right. They've got to fix
However
that.
You figure it
there
out.
was a number of times where they snapped the ball.
Yeah, it doesn't. Should be easy.
Either exactly at zero or slightly after zero.
When the shot clock buzzer goes off, everybody knows.
Did you see the early odds for next year's Super Bowl? The Chiefs are favored.
I would imagine they would be.
The second favorite?
Bengals.
Buffalo.
Really? Wow.
Third is the Niners. And then the Bengals and Eagles are tied for fourth.
Where are the Browns?
I just saw
Browns are plus 1,200.
Oh, my God.
Typically,
and if you want to place a bet on that, by the way.
Go ahead.
Check out BetJack. The time has arrived, Ohio sports fans. Sports betting is live in Ohio at the moment. You can download the BetJack app today. So you'll be ready to get skin in the game on all your actions, futures, parlays, single games, over-unders, you name it. BetJack has it. It is officially Ohio Sportsbook.
Jason hit a big bet last night.
Oh, did he?
Jason had Chiefs and over, and he also had Mahomes as the MVP. So he walked out with a lot of money last night.
I would never have bet the Chiefs on the money line. I would just bet Mahomes because Mahomes was plus 135 to win the MVP. The Chiefs on the money line were like plus 105. So, and if the Chiefs were going to win, you knew Mahomes was most likely going to win the MVP.
Well, he bet both. Yeah, he bet both together.
Kelce said
a lot of money was bet. Yes.
Kelce said something, and I agree with him. He said it 4 times.
Nam y'all.
He said,
Nam one of y'all. Nam one of y'all.
Nam one of y'all.
Say it again.
Nam one of y'all.
You can always say that for the east side.
Yeah.
Nam one of y'all.
Because to win the Super Bowl.
Oh, stop it.
And then let me tell you.
No. He's got to stop that.
Hold on.
They're the favorites all the time. What do you mean nobody picked them?
on.
You know, at the beginning of the year, though, there were a lot. They got a lot.
Plenty of people picked them.
Sat right there after 3 weeks and said, Chiefs are not what they're used to be because Hill's gone.
And
their numbers were down early.
He had the right to say what he said because here's what we do. We like to spread it out. We like to say, well, the Chiefs done won a few times. Let's just choose the Bills today. I think the Bengals are going to be the best today. I think this team going to be good this year. No.
Plenty of people picked the Chiefs.
No, they didn't.
Yeah.
No one had the Chiefs rocking and rolling.
That's not true.
When they lost Tyreek Hill, they was like, you done lost your Chiefs. Why would you do that?
No,
That's true.
Come on.
That's true.
Nobody picked them.
They weren't the overwhelming pick.
Nobody picked them this year. None.
They weren't. The Bills were the biggest pick
Because
in
they
the
weren't
AFC.
the overwhelming pick doesn't mean nobody picked them. There were a lot of people.
And 6 people picked
So
them.
this goes back to our
And
question.
even so what? Why would players players shouldn't complain about nobody picking
Here's
them.
what he's saying.
He's just saying I won and you didn't.
And we talked about this. Like some people will make the argument that doesn't ever matter in a game.
Oh, it does.
Let's just go back. So the fuel for the fire for the Bengals was
Cincinnati Mirror.
Was just the fact that everybody was saying Bills are already planning on going down to Atlanta for the playoff games. Right. So what happened? The Bengals stood up and beat them. And after the game, we heard from the Bengals players saying, well, I guess you're going to have to get your money back. Smoking cigars. Talent was probably very equal, but the Bengals' will was stronger, even stronger than home field advantage. Then
You mean the Chiefs will?
No, I'm talking about
the
first
Bengals
the
against
Bengals and the Bills.
Okay.
Then the Bengals are saying this is Burrowwood.
Oh yeah.
Burrowhead. We're smoking
Burrowhead.
our cigars like you've accomplished something. And the Chiefs were looking on in Kansas City, and then the mayor started flapping his pie hole. And then everybody in Kansas City was like, oh, thanks for the extra motivation. Like, the human spirit, it works in
what's the
funny
excuse
ways.
for the Super Bowl? Nobody was talking trash about the Chiefs.
No, but
the Chiefs
in
did a
the
lot.
Super Bowl,
I think that's all nonsense. The Chiefs last week were doing a bunch of talking. They sounded kind of stupid after the Bengals game.
The Chiefs
they were talking trash.
Because they called it Burrowhead.
Yeah.
One guy called it that.
Well, you don't need
one player.
Yeah, but others started saying it.
All I need is one.
One player said it.
All you need.
And then the mayor says there needs to be a paternity test.
Yeah.
So the will, if the talent was close, and I think we all agree it's very, very close between those teams. One team had human spirit and extra motivation. In the Super Bowl, it was probably looked at as a very, very close game, clearly. But Kelce went into that game with a major chip on his shoulder, not against anything the Eagles said, against what the experts before the season said.
Oh, my God.
And he
Give me a
said,
break.
none of you guys
gave
us a chance.
Then why
of
did you
winning
guys,
the Super
if
Bowl.
you were so sure about that, why didn't you pick the Eagles to win?
I'm not playing the game. I have nothing to do with the outcome of the game.
That's just silly. The
I'm
team
just
has-
saying,
I picked the Chiefs.
listen,
Guys, the game,
Brad,
Jay, the game was a toss-up.
You played professional sports.
Yes, sir.
Tell us, is it possible that anyone ever said anything to disparage you that made you go to a level you didn't know you
Nobody
had?
disparaged the Chiefs.
Oh yes.
And in Kelsey's mind, they were.
It happened.
What did Michael Jordan do? Michael Jordan all the time manufactured
Jay,
slights.
is your argument going to be that every game, whichever team manufactures?
No.
That's what you're saying.
No, I'm not.
Yes,
What
you are.
you didn't hear
No,
me.
go
ahead.
What I
Wait a
said is when the talent level
when
is
it's
close.
There are
When
the
it's
talent
close.
level. When the talent level.
Why give
let me
the
get
other-
this clear. So you think because Travis Kelce manufactured some slight, that's why they won the game?
So
I'm saying
It's
it's
absurd.
Brad, is it absurd?
No, it's not absurd.
Okay, thanks.
I
Of course
said-
it's absurd.
No, it's not
Brad's played.
No,
I'm
it's
gonna
not.
listen to
Eagles
Brad.
could have just as easily won the game.
No,
They
it's
could
not.
have.
No, it's not absurd.
Tell
I said
us.
when you get to certain situations, there are things that will motivate a man or woman to pick it up to another
different
degree,
level.
a different level. And it might seem like it's insignificant, but to that person, they find fuel to the fire, and that's when they come in with.
So when the Eagles were winning by 10 points, was that not working for a little while?
There was
then
still
it worked
time on the
again
clock.
late?
No, there was still time on the clock.
And so
you think that's why they won the game?
But watch this though, boy. Watch this. Hold on.
Let me say it more
Do
clearly.
you think that's why they won the game?
Let me say it more clearly.
Go ahead.
It was a factor
Okay.
amongst many factors.
I don't think it was a factor.
But when the skill is so even, why would you want to give somebody else a little bit
extra? The Eagles didn't give them anything else. What do you mean, why would you want to?
Right. I'm saying
nobody
that
gave them
in the case
anything.
of the Bengals and the Bills, I'm saying that.
Yeah.
In this case, it wasn't the Eagles that provided the motivation. I thought I said that clearly.
Right.
It was Kelce, like Jordan, he's going to look at the opponent. Why would I really want to win this game even more? And if you find it and you put it in your heart and you hold on to it, it's just a big motivating factor.
Like you said when they was up in the beginning, when the Eagles was up, was that a motivating factor, right? Because the Eagles was up winning. But we just talked about this earlier. When they was up, look how many players on the sideline was like, we ain't doing this. We're not about to go down this road. Get it together.
1989, Bulls, Cavs, Jordan shot series.
Right.
Go to that in the interview after he hits that shot. James Brown comes
First
out
thing he says.
interviews him, and he says, the fact that everybody give us a chance here is the reason why they went down today, right? And that's what my motivation was today.
Yeah.
Right?
And everybody's different.
And it wasn't anything that the Cavs said. It's you pull it out of where you need to pull it out of.
He was talking about things that the broadcaster said at the end of Game 4.
Right.
And Jordan said, I heard him.
A lot of people were picking the Chiefs.
And I replayed him in my mind.
A lot of people were picking the Chiefs to win this game. A lot of people.
Ton.
You're
right.
Outside of maybe the Bills, the Chiefs would probably pick to win the Super Bowl more than any other team. So outside of maybe the Bills.
Gosh,
so
they had the third highest odds going into the season.
Yeah, that's what I was going to just ask.
I mean, what a slight to have the third highest odds.
Well, when they won it, they feel
so
they're
I guess
the best
team with the third highest odds is going to win the Super Bowl now for every year because they were slighted. So every time a team wins and we can make up a slight, we'll say that was part of the reason they won.
A part of the reason?
Yeah.
So if you talk to Kelce about the game and you talk to Mahomes and you ask them what was the mindset coming into the game, you can do that even going back into the Chiefs Bengals. To a man, when they were interviewed after the game, many players said, we heard this Burrowhead nonsense.
Couldn't the Eagles have said the same thing?
I don't know what they were given motivation.
I'm sure they could have said the same thing.
I don't know.
I'm sure the Bengals could have said the same thing to the Chiefs. We've beaten them 3 times in a row. Why are we underdog again?
Going back to your point of the sidelines shot, it's hard to measure want to from emotion, but to me, watching the game, it looked like the Chiefs were the team that wanted it more, that you just got that sense as the game was unwinding. They're going to make a play. They're going to do something. They're going to come through because, and I'm not saying that the team that yells and screams the most on the sideline is always going to win, but I'm just measuring two teams that I look at as almost exact opposite teams.
What you could tell is here, to Bull's point, that I think the Chiefs had a good thing. The Eagles had a good thing. But I tell you what, when the Chiefs came out that locker room at halftime, you could tell who was desperate.
Something was
different.
different.
That was different.
I remember.
It didn't take 2 minutes, and they were like, we on you.
I remember in high school, quick story, Coach Kyle has been on our show multiple times. We go in to play St. Ignatius. And one of the things our coaches told us, now you playing St. Ignatius, and this is one of the biggest schools. This is one of the most powerful powerhouses in the game. We a little school from Canton.
Stop with that.
Watch this.
Stop lying to me. Stop. Canton people always say that.
Yeah, but there is a disadvantage that the city schools
every
have.
team looks for motivation.
You're going
and when
against
they win,
the
they
school
say
that
they
can
used
recruit.
it. They lose
Let you finish your story.
Jeez,
as we sit here, what they don't understand, when you in an inner city school, you playing with the people you grew up with. You ain't going to get
neighborhood kids.
That's true.
I played every single play. All the other offensive linemen played every play. So you know what they did in the summer? They said, we going to run y'all till y'all die. Because you got to be better, twice as good as them. Because they got guys going
Not literally, but.
Not literally.
Right.
But you got to be able to physically play at a level where they're rotating guys in and out, and they going D1.
Right.
And you know what? After a while, we said, this is crazy. And they tell us, look, these dudes got it. Y'all come. How many of y'all don't got no lunches? How many of y'all got one pair of shoes? Yeah. How many of y'all don't get the same thing they got? They driving their cars to school. You waiting in the snow. Listen, after a certain point in time when we got to that field, there was no way in hell we was losing because we already thought that they don't think you were going to be nothing in life. They don't think you're going to beat them, and you're going to go right back to this little city and work in this factory over here.
Shout out to the folks at Canton.
Hell yeah.
Because You know, I had the two guards in Ohio State, Troy Taylor and Ron Stuff from Canton. They all cut from the same cloth.
They got that
same cloth. It's right here.
And that chip is big.
I would tell anybody. I said, you put me on a team with somebody from Canton, you know they gonna come. They gonna come. They gonna come to play. Ain't gonna be no nonsense.
And so when we got there, and we said when we were there, and we were down, and we had a miracle catch. Coach Kyle sat up here and said it. I said, there was no way we was going to lose that. I didn't care if an angel came down. I said, we could play the Chicago Bears that game. We was going to win. And there's something about synergy, and there's something about a group of people on one accord going to get something.
Yes.
If you got a group of people, ain't nothing you can say. You just, they going to have to
you got to
play.
have the talent, which you guys clearly did.
Got
And
to
you
have
would
the
have got your
talent.
ass kicked by the Chicago Bears.
Probably so.
Well, the 85
85 Bears, but not the 86.
But it would have been 10-9.
Right, we'd have did our thing. But there is something to be said for people going out playing above themselves for something. We've seen it all the time.
My only point, guys, is that every team has that motivation. I just don't buy that. Like, I just think if the Eagles would have won, I'm not saying that Travis Kelce didn't get himself motivated, but I'm sure the Eagles had some of those same motivations.
So you're saying it's no factor at all, has nothing to do with the outcome?
I just don't buy that.
Because I'm not ready to say it's the reason.
No.
But I am saying
it is a factor.
It is a factor.
There's no way we can know that for sure because it's not a proof.
Just our eyes and ears watching and listening through the years.
We know it for real. Because I would say this. I tell you who really stepped up to that point. Mahomes and Jalen Hurts had another thing hanging over them, right?
Yeah, Hurts especially.
Had to deliver that yesterday.
Played his
right,
ass
because
off.
if they didn't deliver that, we'd be hearing about that for the
Was this it for Jason Kelce? Is he done?
Did you guys see his quote yesterday
No.
to his brother?
What'd he say?
Take tag word falsity. This is probably the quote of the day.
That's great.
Yeah.
That is so
I saw
great.
this little piece on the two of them where Travis said, like, somebody asked Travis who would win when you guys would fight as kids, and Travis said Jason would always kick my ass, and then finally I beat him, and then there was no more.
The last fight.
Yeah.
We played that on this show, Bull.
Was that where I saw it?
One
Yeah,
of the
you said it
things
on
that
the
was, if I told this story last week, stop me. But I saw this. No, I didn't, because I saw it Friday when I was working out after the show on the NFL Network. They ran a feature package from maybe Kelce's third or fourth year in the league, and I knew that he had some problems at Cincinnati. I didn't know to what extent.
Yeah.
So when he was a freshman, came in as a quarterback, played a lot in the first game of the year against Rutgers, played quite a bit, and then just was relegated to the bench because they had a backup quarterback that came in and played well. They made it to the bowl game in New Orleans, and the night before the game was New Year's Eve, and he went out on Bourbon Street, and to quote his words exactly were, I did a lot of drinking, I did a lot of smoking, and I was on cloud nine. And then I got the random drug notification test. He failed the drug test, tested positive for marijuana. Cincinnati coach kicked him off the team. Not just kicked him off the team, he said, you'll never play another snap here. You're done. And so it was a real low point for him in his life. He didn't know what he was going to do. His brother said, you're staying here. You're not going to transfer. You have to sit a year. You're staying here, and you're getting your life together. You're going to move into my dorm, because he was essentially, they pulled a scholarship.
Yeah.
And Jason took him under his wing, made sure he was working out, made sure he was doing the right things. And after the coach initially said, you'll never play another down, Jason went to the coach and he said, come on now, I'm ready to vouch for my brother. And I think it was, I don't know if it was the next season, he may have sat out a full year.
He did. He came back his junior year.
Came back his junior
was good.
year
His senior
then.
year was great.
And Jason said, I'm vouching for him. He's ready. If he does anything wrong, it's on me. And he told Travis that. He told him, now you're playing with my first name, not just my last name. Don't screw this up. So he played. He had a decent senior year, nothing that would project what we're seeing. But he was projected as a second round draft pick. Second round. First day came and went. Second round came, went, nothing. Travis said he gets a call, and it's a Missouri area code, and he thinks, oh, damn, I'm going to the Rams. This was when the Rams were still playing in St. Louis. And he's like, I didn't even want to answer it. I did not want to play for the Rams. So he answered the phone, and it was Andy Reid. And he goes, oh, this is Andy Reid. Then he realized it's the Chiefs. That's also a Missouri area code. And he, in some very colorful language, said, "Are you going to F this up, or are you going to prove to be the player your brother was after I drafted him in Philadelphia?" And he said, "Coach, I'm ready for this. I won't screw this up." But before Andy Reid made this decision to draft another Kelce, because he drafted Jason in Philly, he called Jason and said,
"What's up with your brother?
No sugarcoating.
Right.
Okay? This is your man-to-man. This is your reputation. Is your brother going to be Jason Kelce, or is he going to be the moron that was smoking pot and got kicked off the team as a freshman?" He said, "Coach, he's the best tight end in this draft. If you take him, you'll never regret it." And so the reason for the piece was Travis, and this was before Travis became the GOAT.
Yeah.
Travis was saying in the piece, "Without my brother,
Yep.
I don't have an
it's
NFL
amazing.
career.
Yeah.
I don't have a college career."
Right.
Yeah.
And so the fact that they could meet in the
Yeah.
Super Bowl like that,
I would think. I mean, I don't know if Jason Kelce's going to retire. I know he was thinking about retiring before the season.
he was.
So who knows what he's going to do? He's been a great player.
I have a friend that covers Philly that insists he's not retiring.
Yeah, I would keep playing if I were him. He's still great. There was a lot of rumblings that Andy Reid was going to retire after the game, and that
He put that to bed quickly.
But he did put that to bed. So.
Just to prove your point, 'cause I know we got a read to do here, but I will tell you this. You know, I got daughters that play.
Yeah.
And my youngest one is the best of them all, right? But the ones that hold her accountable are the older sisters.
Isn't that funny?
I don't even have to call.
Really?
If I call, it's a problem, right? I'm like, let's get down to the chase. But they're the ones be like, "What are you doing?" They'll go to the game. They'll sit behind the bench. Be like, "Okay." Like, I'm Cheyenne's first game in Maryland. We come there. We drive to Maryland and watch her play. This is her very first college game. And she's doing nothing in the first half, right? Her older sister, we're 2 rows behind the bench, yells to her, "Cheyenne, really? We drove all this way and you're not going to do nothing?" And I was like,
What'd she
"Shut
do
up."
in the second
So I
half?
was like, "Shut up," something like that. She just here. And then she went for 17
In the second
in the
half.
second half. Yes, she did. And it's like, so it's them that hold, it's the siblings that hold you
And
accountable.
by the way, this is akin to that. My brother, my younger brother, was the best wrestler in our family by far. Should have won a state championship, made several state tournaments. And in Ohio, if you do that, that's legit, okay? That's for real.
Yeah.
And I believe he may still hold a couple of the records at his high school. When he left, he held a lot of them. He was 2 years younger than me and a couple of weight classes above me.
Okay.
So imagine that. I'm the older brother, but I'm smaller. I never lost to him. Yet he was far and away the better wrestler. I mean, it wasn't even close. It wasn't even close. But when I wrestled him, I am not losing to you.
Right.
I am sorry. I am not
not
losing
happening.
to you. And to your point, I had a bigger motivation. He's my older brother. And
Kelce said that yesterday.
And he's passed, Coach Teagarden, who coached both of us at Perkins High School, and he was the one that I wanted to induct me into my high school Hall of Fame. It was between my high school baseball and wrestling coach. And even though I was a much better baseball player, I thought my wrestling coach got more out of me, so he did it. But Coach Teagarden pulled me aside when I was done, and my brother was still a sophomore. He said, if I could be anything in the world, I wish I could be a heart surgeon right now. And I said, why? He said, because I'd take your heart and put it into your brother's body, and I'd have a 4-time state champion. Because he's got the talent that you didn't have, but you've got the heart that he doesn't have.
Right.
You know what I want to ask y'all too is I don't, and in a weird way, you can marinate on it as Mikey gets to his read. Is there any way in your head that Andy Reid could possibly catch Bill Belichick?
We'll think about that. Do your read. That's a great question.
It is a good question. And we know Andy Reid celebrated last night with a cheeseburger. He said he was going to do that. I can only speculate what he had for dessert. And I'm guessing it was a cookies and cream flavored Built Bar. I mean, that man could allegedly house some Built Bars. And no matter how many Built Bars he eats, Andy Reid, the now 2-time Super Bowl winning coach, still uses promo code LOCKEDON15 for 15% off at BuiltBar.com. All the protein, all the taste, all the flavor, delicious chew factor, Built Bar. Not only powers us at UCSS, also may or may not power Andy Reid for his post-game dessert snacks.
You know, I thought when I looked at your record, you just had Andy Reid's stats up here on the screen, right? I was looking at him and I was thinking to myself, okay, them is nice. And, you know, Bill Belichick, I think he done been in, I don't know, some crazy 10 Super Bowls. But for me, in this...
Catch him what? Like, if he goes to 8 Super
In your
Bowls,
mind, can he become a better... Is he a better coach? If you're ranking all time, where is he compared to Bill?
Yeah. I mean,
Is he even number 2?
all time? I mean, do we count Paul Brown? Do we count...
No, let's go to the Super Bowl era.
In the Super Bowl era?
We got a lot of other stuff to get to, so this has to be a quick one. We'll come back to this
I
later,
would
G.
still put...
Rank your top 4. We'll do it very quickly. Go around the horn. Your top 4.
I would go Belichick 1. I would put Bill Walsh 2.
Yep.
I would probably put other guys ahead of Andy Reid. I would put Chuck Noll.
Tom Landry.
Chuck
Landry.
Noll.
I think
Jimmy Johnson.
Jimmy Johnson had a run.
I put him just now above Jimmy Johnson.
Do y'all forget Paul Brown?
No, we said Super Bowl era.
Super Bowl era. Yeah.
All right, so I would say Noel, Landry, Bill Walsh, right?
Yeah.
I mean,
And
that's
Belichick.
you're in rare air here.
I think he's in the top 5
He did
for
take
sure.
2 teams to a Super Bowl. That's
He
pretty
did.
impressive.
He did. And now he's got 2 Super Bowl victories.
Yeah. I mean,
He also
he's
has...
in the conversation.
What I like
So would you say he's on the Rushmore?
I know we got to bounce, but I
he's
like
on the
what I like.
Rushmore.
There's only 4 on Mount
There's only
Rushmore.
4, right? So
We'll do this.
Yeah.
We'll do this. Sorry, Earl was talking. We'll do this later in the week. We'll do a full Mount Rushmore. We'll each make it in. We'll put that later in the week.
By the
We'll
way,
save it
real
for
quick,
Friday when Brad's back.
very quick, Mike. I would say, you made the point before, Jay, that it's harder now to keep a team together.
Yeah.
And that makes things more challenging for the coaches now, which I agree.
Sure.
However, the quarterback is so much more of a factor now than it was back in the day.
Way more.
That if you have that quarterback, as Reid does, as Belichick did, it's a bigger advantage than if you had a great quarterback in the 70s and 80s, because you could win games different ways. You could win the Super Bowl other ways than
You could.
that you can't really now.
It's really tough to win it without an elite quarterback.
You got
It's very tough.
Right. Like, you could win. Like, we saw guys win Super Bowls with crappy quarterbacks, and occasionally.
Well, 5 years ago, a team won a Super Bowl with a crappy quarterback.
Yeah, well, and that was an anomaly. But like
was.
Dilfer and some of those quarterbacks with Jim McMahon, I mean, he wasn't very good.
No.
So the game has changed.
Brad
so
Johnson.
much.
Nick Foles, though, is in this modern era,
Right.
where quarterbacks are everything.
He
And
played
beat
out
Tom
of his
Brady.
mind. But the
he
difference
did play
is
out of his mind.
those guys, like Trent Dilfer, didn't play great in the playoffs. They just won.
No.
Nick Foles played out of his mind in the playoffs.
But here's why I say this little tandem is the biggest cheat code. You got a quarterback in Mahomes that got otherworld talent, like the best you've probably ever seen. But then usually you have a great quarterback, but they have a coach who's not as good or is just a little bit below. We can take a look at the coaches that Aaron Rodgers had. And even Bill Belichick, he wasn't the offensive coordinator, right?
Right.
So now you got Andy Reid, who is, when it comes to scheming it up and offensively speaking, he's right there. So when you get a quarterback that can throw every throw, that's magical, plus an all-time great offensive coach,
I'll name
it's crazy.
3 quarterbacks that were considered, definitely Hall of Famers. Drew Brees, Aaron Rodgers, Brett Favre. They each got 1.
Yeah.
That's how hard it is.
Dan Marino, 0.
Dan Marino went to 1 in his second
and
year.
he's as good as any
never
quarterback
got
I've ever
back.
seen.
He never, yeah.
Yeah.
Because
It's crazy.
this is nuts.
crazy.
Where at,
Go
Mikey?
ahead, Mikey.
Jimmy and D Haslam
Yeah.
Yeah,
are
news
interested.
broke Friday, right?
Came out on Friday. We didn't get a chance to talk about it, but there were reports. We could take the VO poll, Steve. They're looking at purchasing a minority stake in the Bucks worth up to 25% of the franchise. There's no timeline for a sale. One of the Bucks minority owners who owns 25% is looking to unload that, and the Haslam Sports Group, I guess you would call it, is looking to expand outside of Ohio. So if the Haslams do pursue an NBA team to add to their portfolio, is that a good thing, a bad thing, or have absolutely no impact on the Browns?
Well, the fact that they want to do it tells me it's just the wrong move. So I'll start with that.
Yeah,
I
think in the end, at first I didn't realize it was just a minority stake. So a minority stake, you're not really doing much day in, day out.
No,
I think it's a non-factor. At first, I thought they were buying the main team.
Right.
And I was like, my first reaction was like, well, that's not good. But then a friend, somebody on Twitter said, well, Bull, that could be good because then they'll pay less attention to the Browns, stay out of the way.
Well, that was
And
my
I
thinking.
Like, yeah.
My thinking was any diversion that we can get
Is good.
Is good.
Yes.
Because they would spend less time and energy screwing up the Browns.
Yes.
But
there he is, just out of the toilet.
Then there's another piece of me that really bothers me. It really bothers me.
There's something about
why.
it. I don't know what it is.
Let me help. Because I felt the same way when they bought the crew. Bro, we want to be an only child. We need every focus that you have on winning a championship with this team. And what it scares the hell out of me, because he wants to be a winner. He wants to stand on the podium like Hunt Jr., Clark Hunt, and he wants to hold that trophy. And I think he's come to the realization, I'm never going to get my hands on the Lamar Hunt trophy.
Yeah, so maybe I'll get this.
Maybe I can win one with the Columbus crew.
By the way, I got to jump in because talk about Lamar Hunt Jr. out kicking his coverage. I mean, how absurd is that?
Yeah, right? No kidding.
My God. You think she really loves him, G? You think she loves
that money.
Yeah, I'm sure she really loves him.
Of course she does.
Please, she don't love him.
For now. What do you mean talk about?
I mean, his wife looks like a supermodel. It's 20, 30 years younger than him.
Listen, every billionaire has a supermodel. And even if their wife wasn't a supermodel before, they are utilizing the technology the NFL is not.
That's a good line.
Duck here.
Oh, my God.
Do you have any thoughts on it? I mean, it's interesting that he would want to diversify. I don't know.
Diversification is not a problem, right? My owner's stake in an NBA club is not. I mean, it's just a silent move, really.
How about you take some of that money and?
The problem is this: is it a prelude to him thinking that he can buy his way into the Bucks? You see what I'm saying?
As the majority owner.
As the majority owner.
I would imagine that most minority owners are doing it for one reason. That one.
Mm-hmm. So he position, because the Bucks have been a team that have sold themselves many a time.
Yeah.
From Herb Coles and doing your thing. Here's the deal, right? So he's positioned himself here.
There's got to be a green arrow next to the Bucks, though, just in terms of a team that could win a championship. You would want to be involved in that some way, shape, or form.
By the way, when I ripped Jimmy Haslam in terms of buying, a couple people were like, well, he's better than the learners. He's better than the learners. And I'm like, is he?
Well, I don't know that he is.
Their winning percentage is like minuscule better, like almost exactly the same.
0-16 and 1-15 happened on Jimmy.
That was Jimmy.
So no, by that
if
measure,
you look at it was Al was the dad and then Randy, right?
Yeah.
Okay. Mm-hmm. If you look at just when Randy became the CEO, technically they have a better winning percentage under Randy. If you put the learners together, it's slightly below Jimmy.
Well, what would tip my scales there was 0-16 and 1-15. Their bottom was worse.
Right.
Because, I mean, remember, we were irate when the Browns were only winning 3, 4, 5 games.
Right.
Then we had a 0-16 and 1-15 back to back.
Right. And the learners were
almost 0-16 twice in a row.
Plus, the learners had the disadvantage of being an expansion team. We were always going to suck at the beginning.
Yeah.
He did one thing though. I'll give him credit for it.
Jimmy?
Yeah. I mean, he hasn't.
G is a low-key Jimmy defender. Low-key. You're a gentleman's punt Jimmy defender.
Hey,
so what do you say about Jimmy?
At least Jimmy will go out and make a move. Right? Al Lerner and Randy Lerner, they was over watching soccer teams with bums on the sideline. Boy Scouts of America. We had Jason Trusnick running around here playing.
But here's what I'd say, G, is like, okay, I'll give you that. But, like, it's the same thing when it came to, I hate to bring Baker into it, but I will. It was like, well, Baker won a playoff game. He's better than all these other. Yeah, well, when everybody else is a 0 and you're a 2, and Baker's better than 2, but whatever.
Yeah.
Then everything looks better.
Yeah.
So maybe the learners were a 0 and Jimmy's a 1. I mean, he still sucks. Is there any owner in football that you wouldn't rather have own the Browns except for maybe Daniel Snyder?
Ooh.
I used to think
damn
Shad
good
Khan.
What about the dude down in Miami? The Miami dude.
I didn't like the. I don't like the Texans people.
What about Miami?
I didn't really care for the owners of the Carolina Panthers.
The Raiders are broke.
Don't really care.
But like all these franchises have more
the
success.
The coach, the dude in Miami, I don't want to play for them.
Stephen Ross.
Yeah.
I mean,
but here's what
we're in the lower tier.
Original point is. Jay said something at the beginning of the year, and I was like, man, I don't know if I believe that. But now I done came around. He started talking about Deshaun Watson, and he started saying that if it don't work, you know what I'm saying, it's on him. And at one point in time, I didn't really believe it like that. Mm-hmm. But now I wholeheartedly believe it, because if you counting on other people at the top, you know where you can make a difference? Right under center. See, you can be inept all you want. Guess what? I call the plays inaudibles. You can be inept all you want. I don't like that player. I want this player. You can be inept all you want. You tell them we ain't drafting this guy, and I don't like this coordinator, and we're going to run these plays, and then you can go out and execute. Deshaun Watson can make the difference that the coach, the general manager, and everybody can't. But you hitching your wagon on somebody
it better work.
What I like to see is Jimmy come out and say, we're going to win 10 games. And if we don't win 10 games, there's a problem here. It sets the standard for everybody.
Yeah, that's true.
Somebody set the standard here. This is the standard here. So you know if you come up short, don't even be looking around. Yeah. You know what's coming your way.
Or Deshaun Watson could tell people, he come out with our first press conferences, this is a playoff team. This is how we going to move.
But
they tried that last year. We're the best defense in the NFL.
If the ownership sets it from the top,
right,
that come downhill. Everybody gets that message.
You're right. If Jimmy came to the podium, and it's always hard to put a number of wins because you could have injuries and everything else, but I would love to see Jimmy say what you just said. This is a playoff team, and I expect this team to make the playoffs.
And if we don't, I'm going to fire everybody. I'm going to make bad hirings like I've done for 10 years.
If we don't, we're not going to continue going at the same point to the same point on the horizon.
Now, Dallas doesn't have success, but Jerry Jones does it all the time.
But it hasn't worked.
But it hasn't worked. But I'm just saying, somebody has to say what the standard is.
Yeah.
Right? What are we shooting to? What are we shooting for?
For a long time, we've always said, even when you ask media people, the first thing they say is changing the culture and sustained success. And turning the corner and flipping. It sounds like one of them old NFL films where you look at the 2022 Browns and they're like, a team.
Look.
And you're like, what does that really mean? They won 4 games.
Vince Lombardi is making the turn.
I'm going to ask the three of you guys as friends and coworkers to hold me to a standard, okay?
Right.
If at any point next August you hear me get excited, you hear me say, this team can do this, I want you to just politely take the water bottle that you're drinking from and throw it right at my face as hard as you can.
Like, what are you talking about?
Don't let me drink the Kool-Aid.
I told myself the same thing.
And I'm holding you accountable.
And I'm the Duke of Knee Jerk. I didn't have the title like I got now.
Duke of the Kool-Aid package.
And I had the Kool-Aid.
I remember when
I had the 6-0
before Watson came back, my man sat here and said 6-0.
6-0 Kool-Aid.
To me, there's 3 things that concern me. 3 things that make somebody a bad owner. And Jimmy has all 3. One, meddling. He does it.
Yeah.
As bad as almost any owner in sports. 2, controversy off the field. The Browns have had, including on him personally, the Browns have had a ton of it.
We lead the league in
during
drama.
his time. 3, lack of success on the field. They've had almost none. So he's all 3 of those.
He's the triple threat for a bad
how
owner.
many other owners have those 3 things? Not many.
Yeah.
Daniel Snyder does.
Hey, well, here I will say this though.
That's a great comparison.
I will say this though. We ain't made enough money. Like I feel like once you make over a certain amount of money, meddling happens. I'm meddling in my daughter's life. You ain't marrying him.
Yeah, but there's a level. Gee, but there's obviously when you're a billionaire, you own the team. You're going to have some degree of involvement.
Right.
But most of the owners don't meddle like Jimmy meddles.
What do you consider meddling? Like major meddling? Because some people say, what has
drafting Johnny Manziel because a homeless guy told you to?
Okay.
That's meddling.
No, some meddle, but you don't hear about it, right? There's a difference. Jimmy want to be front and center. Like, I'm in the mix here. You ain't in the mix.
Let me give you a story that I know for a fact.
Write the checks.
All right.
I'm not going to. I don't think I've ever told the story on the air. But I know somebody. Who worked for the Browns. Not in a football position.
Okay.
I want to be careful what I say because this person told me this in anonymity, and I don't want to give it away. But somebody that worked for the Browns in an important position, but had nothing to do with making football decisions. It was kind of different stuff.
Okay.
All right? And this guy used to meet with Jimmy once a week. And Jimmy would say, tell me the truth, blah, 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 blah. And the guy never told Jimmy the truth because he was afraid that Jimmy would fire him.
He can't handle the truth.
All right? So for weeks and weeks, he gave Jimmy little bits but didn't tell him the real truth.
That's a bad sign.
And then finally,
that ain't ended
finally there was one time he said, okay, listen, I really believe you're holding back on me. I promise you none of this will come back. I really need to know, do you think I'm doing this and this right in this avenue? My guy was finally convinced to be honest with Jimmy,
Cost him his job.
And he lost his job.
That's
Yeah.
See, that's the problem.
And by the way, every other high-level employee in the building knows that story.
Right.
That's right.
Every one of them.
You have to have certain people that will hold you to the truth standard. Here's the deal. And you have to be man enough or woman enough to stand there and accept it and be like, they coming at you from a clean space. This is what we see.
That's right. And
you have to process that. Now, if you're sitting there looking for people just to give you the answer that you want to hear, you're on a doomed ship from the beginning.
Yeah, one of the analogies this was the way it was told to me, and I'll never forget it because I have later come to look at it and see that's exactly what's happened. A league reporter who knows all the intimate workings of most of the teams, but particularly the Browns very well, told me, in telling me that Jimmy was never going to be successful and giving me all the reasons why, one of the stories he told me was the biggest problem with the Browns and Jimmy is that he runs this team like it's the Survivor television show.
Oh.
Right.
He has pitted
Right.
one high-level employee against the other, and what he's done is created this almost open tug of war for power of the key to the castle.
Which is the opposite of what you want.
It's exactly right. The opposite. Yeah. So what this person said, who also is very intimate with covering a franchise that has had long-term success, said the juxtaposition of the way it's going on here is that he's pitting people against one another in this open air idea of one of you is going to be my guy, the guy that's going to have my ear, and I'm going to figure out who it is. And now you've got guys working in high-level positions that are working against each other. They're pulling against the rope.
Yeah.
It never worked.
And then the other story was, so you've got the Survivor going on here, and at a few other organizations in which he detailed how they work, he said, that notion is laughable. You've got everybody pulling on one side of the rope, knowing that there's 31 other teams that are already working against them. You don't want to create situations inside your building where you have this one working against this one, working against this one, trying to ultimately wear the crown of king. And we saw that play out after the firing of Hugh Jackson, and ultimately both guys ended up being gone. But you had the defensive coordinator and the offensive coordinator basically picking over Hugh Jackson's carcass while he still had a heartbeat. Who was going to win control of the Browns?
Right.
Now both are gone. It's an unhealthy situation.
Yeah.
And you've got to get rid of that culture inside the building.
And maybe it's started to change because Barry and Stefanski and DePodesta do seem to be able to work together.
Well,
but I don't know.
Or is it an idea like I told you every other employee in the Browns building heard that story and they said, well, I'm not going to fall for that trap.
Yeah.
Stefanski knows where the bodies are buried in Cleveland. He's talked. He knows. Yeah. So he's under the impression where maybe he goes home at night and spills to his wife, oh my God, it's so dysfunctional. This is going on. But when he comes into work the next day, he's like, hey, Andrew, DePodesta, my boy.
What's up, Chief?
Hey.
But behind the scenes.
There's only one way you relegate that. If you got a great quarterback and he better than everybody else.
That's it.
It don't matter.
The only way you can overcome.
It don't matter what the hell they up there talking about.
It fixes a lot of work.
You know, 3 years ago, I would have put Mike Brown in the bottom tier. Now, he's maybe a notch above the bottom tier.
Because he had the luck of the draw of being the worst team in the league the year before a transcending quarterback comes
Zach
out.
Taylor was about to get fired. Now I think he's doing a pretty good job. Not the best, but he's doing a pretty good job.
We kind of blew this lineup.
It's okay. No, we got I like this. We did a lot of good stuff, and we're going to get to everything we wanted to because we're the best. We do have the results real quick from the Bowl bet of the day. He took the Guardians to win the World Series at plus 2,700. Over 300 people voted on this bowl. You're riding alone here, though. Only 62% of the fans would take that bet with those odds.
So 62% of the fans.
What
said no, they would not ride with Bowl.
Said they would not.
Would not ride with Bowl.
Did they have an option to pick what they would pick?
What was their option?
No, it's just will you ride with Bowl on that bet?
Oh, I see.
It's a yes or no question.
I thought you were going to put the same 4 bets.
Said no. We are going to pivot to the Cavs real quick, but before we do that, I do want to remind you that for $199 a month, you become a Starters Tier member of the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. It gets you all the custom emojis and loyalty badges in the YouTube chat. For $4.99 a month, you become a Coaches member. You get all the same Starter Tier perks, plus overtime videos, member shout-outs. We're going to talk Cavs in a sec. On Wednesday, Jason will be texting with some of these coaches tier members through the Haymarket app. We have the number to sign up for that on our YouTube page. So for the 76ers Cavs game on Wednesday, Jason will be interacting with the fans, get some cool insight from Jason. And if you're not a coaches tier member already, it's a great Valentine's Day present for your girl, which is going on tomorrow.
By the way, guys, quick answers from everybody. If you had to bet on which of the 3 Cleveland teams is most likely to win a championship in the next 5 years, who would you bet on? And in which order, if you want to give it?
It would be, for me, really close for 1 and 2. Really close.
Agreed.
But it would be Cavs by just a whisker over the Guardians, and then the Browns would be way down the chain.
Cavs. I go Cavs, and I got them by like 5% in the poll. Yeah. I think they actually had the best chance because they got guys that you can say is a superstar now and an upcoming superstar.
Who you got? Guardians 2 or Browns?
Guardians. Oh, yeah. Come on, Guardians 2.
Brad?
Yeah.
Cavs, Guardians.
You guys are all the same order. I'm different. I'm Guardians 1, Cavs 2, Browns 3. I also think it's very close. I just think ultimately there's the better team wins less often in baseball.
That's fact.
I agree with Bull. And, it's the second
and that's
time
why I
But
give the Guardians a little better
I'll tell you why
chance.
mine was super close is because you now, like me, are of the mindset, I believe, that LeBron will end his career here.
That's true, too.
So I think that LeBron's full circle moment would be he started his career, he was all we had, and we needed everything else. If and when he comes back, we would have everything else. He's going to be all we need.
True.
And I think that if he does come back and can play at 75% of what he's playing now,
right,
I think he's the missing
true.
link.
I do think the one thing that concerns me more about the Cavs than the Guardians is that I know that when the Guardians, let's say when Jose Ramirez starts to go downhill 5 years from now,
Right.
Okay.
I know they're going to keep churning out good players.
That's their track record.
I'm not confident that when this iteration of the Cavs goes away, that
They
the
can
next
do it
one's
again.
going to be good.
Yeah, well,
Yeah.
So are you guys
the
saying,
league is
Brad,
not
I'm going
set.
to lead you right into this.
All right.
Are you saying that Danny Green isn't the missing piece
No.
to put
Ooh, Danny
the
Green.
Cavs over the top?
No, he's not.
I mean, it's here. Danny
Nice small
Green.
move, right?
Danny Green's coming off of ACL. He hadn't played, so
Just came back like the
Yep.
last couple of weeks.
So I'm just saying. I'm saying this. I mean, you picking up a guy off of had a buyout. I mean, it's an easy pickup. Costs you no money. Okay, good addition.
It's okay move.
It's okay move.
There's no negative
But I'm
about
not
it.
going to order tickets to the
On a
Eastern
scale of
Conference
1
Finals.
to 10, with 1 being a non-factor, 10 being a superstar pickup, what would you get?
No, the question is not that. The question is, who would you take? Who would you pick up in the buyout market? What player would you take?
Well, you know what? I know you had said that's where moves are going to happen.
That's
Last
what-
week you sat right there and said, let's wait until you see.
Yeah.
But here's what I'm disappointed about. This is it. They are right now at the threshold of the tax.
Right, they're
of
not
the
gonna
tax
go
line.
over it, yeah.
They're not going over it.
No. You would pick up a guy on the buyout for the league minimum, veteran minimum.
They don't have any left.
Is it really right at the line?
I read something this morning that
I will
characterized
double
it like
check.
this.
Give me 2 minutes.
This is what it was characterized, what I read this morning. Now, maybe he has different information. The Green move puts them at the threshold of the line, that might mean that there's no wiggle room. That's
Yeah.
it. They're done. And I know they're not going to exceed that. Jason sat there and told us 100 times that's why they can't do anything, because they're handcuffed.
Well, I like
So
the
they
move.
did all they could do.
I like it.
I like Danny
But is
Green.
it enough?
Well,
No.
Well, here, the Cavs, I think the way that they changed, the way they've played, I really do believe over these last few games they've given themselves a puncher's shot at beating a team like Boston. I don't think in a 7-game series, I don't want no parts of Giannis because I just know what he can do. He can be a brute. But if you look at the team, right, and the way they play, the way that they are situating their big men, and now it's an actual literal threat. Like Mobley's not floating around the 3-point arc. They got guys that are in the rim. Jared Allen is aggressive dunking the ball. And now Darius Garland, I've seen, he might go the whole first quarter without taking a shot.
Let me just jump in here. Danny Green's not coming off any impressive seasons here. He had a great run? Yeah, he had a great run.
He's 14 years
Right.
old.
So he's not coming off no
I'll take
impressive
Danny
season.
Green from 8 years ago.
Nah, I'm taking
as a
this.
piece.
Me, and I understand the financial constraints here. Me, I waited to see what Westbrook was going to do. I'm jumping in the game here.
Yeah, I would have.
I mean, because Danny Green to this team is not making that significant a difference.
As is, though.
You might as well wait.
What's the Cavs' best case scenario for this season?
Eastern Conference
They have no
Finals.
money left.
They have no money left.
What's
Okay.
their best case? Like,
What's their best case? What realistically? I mean, like, listen, there's always miracles, whatever.
Yeah, they're
But
going to. You know what?
realistically, what's their
It's
best
funny
case
you
scenario?
use the word miracle because, like the miracle in Richfield, I think they're going to win a playoff series, and then they're going to be done. My hope is that they can take the second playoff series to 7 games because it's all about collecting experience at this time, as you know.
I like that.
Success in the NBA takes incremental steps. And they've got to take that first step of making the playoffs.
And winning a series.
So
the second round, you're going to play either Boston or Milwaukee, most likely.
Yes, and right
the
now
odds
they're
of
in
them
the
beating
4.
either of those teams.
I give the Cavs.
They have a puncher's chance, like G-Bush said, but I just don't think at the end
they can beat
they're
both.
not good enough on the road to beat one of those teams at their place because that's ultimately what they're going to have to do.
I give the Cavaliers credit from this standpoint. This is a very small league. They probably know Westbrook is headed to the Clippers, right?
Right.
Probably where they know. They probably know what all the chess moves out here and where people are headed to.
Sure, they talk.
Right? And so if they look at the end, I got to grab somebody here.
Right.
Right. So Danny Green, I'm going to grab you because the rest of them probably not coming this way. Right.
Right.
Even though you have a formidable case to be made, right? But they're like, Westbrook said, I'm not leaving town here. I'm just moving over to the next town. Somebody actually wants me, right? So I don't have to leave, right? Your game is you back. You had one card to play. I guess they felt this was the card they had to play here, right? Yeah. So,
Brad, what percentage chance would you give them, as is, of beating either Boston or Milwaukee in a playoff series?
Yeah.
I think they got a 50-50 shot.
Really?
Because, let me tell you why. Because they have played Boston well this year.
In the regular season.
Yes, they have. Well, we ain't been nowhere but the regular season, right? Milwaukee.
But Boston's a team that knows there's another gear.
Right. Well,
another
Boston.
notch.
Here, I'm not sold on Boston like that, right?
Wow.
Nope. Because I
think Boston and Milwaukee are almost rubber stamped.
Let me tell you why I'm not sold on Boston. Because I've seen the 2 stars go south on you. They have gone south on you, right? And so if you go south one time, you go south again. Yes, you will under the right
What is Brown's status right now? How long is he out for?
That's wild. That's a little piece.
Yeah, but it's not. I mean, he'll be back for the playoffs.
No, he'll be back for that.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying.
McNuggets wants to explain the money situation in a little greater detail.
Yeah, just so, because I didn't know this until I just looked this up, but according to the 3 articles I just read, the Cavs came into the season $2.5 million below the luxury tax line. So they're already over the salary cap.
Yes.
But away from paying the luxury tax, which is really where the owners want to avoid.
And they just dropped another $2 million. Right.
Essentially, they paid $2.3 million for Danny Green.
So they have $200,000 left.
$200,000 left, which is going to buy you a copy machine and me.
It'll get McNuggets.
Yeah,
it will get you McNuggets.
I'll go for $200K, but that's about all you're going to do. So.
Yeah. So they're done. This is their roster.
If McNuggets played 1-on-1 to 21 against the worst player in the G League,
stop.
I'd lose 21-0.
Stop.
No.
They don't miss.
Because you'd hit some buckets.
If they let him
score,
shoot.
what would the final score be? Game to 21, worst player in the G
A
League.
guard or a big?
Let's say it's a guard. The worst guard in the G League.
I'm losing 21-1 if I'm lucky, 21-2 maybe.
I think he'll
Hey,
score more
if you ever want to learn how good the NBA player is, on YouTube they got Brian Scalabrine, who people go up and be like, "You're garbage. Scalabrine's not good."
Have I told my
Scalabrine is out here giving dudes buckets. I mean, he's Euro.
Did I tell you? Have I told my Knicks?
He the one missing.
Have I told my Knicks rookie security guard story or no?
No, but I'd love to hear it.
I haven't told this story.
Knicks rookie.
So
security.
when I was a freshman in college, I went to a school called SUNY Purchase, which is where the Knicks, at least at the time, held
That's
their
where they
training.
practice.
I don't know if they still do it there.
They were practicing out
It's
there.
just in Westchester County, just outside of the
Mm-hmm.
city. So I went there for 1 year, and then I actually got kicked out of the school. Told never to come back again. I won't get into that.
He got
detail.
Kelce.
Hey, someone told Travis Kelce the same thing.
Exactly, right?
Yeah,
So
Kelce.
I worked in the gym as like a security guard, not a real security guard. I would take IDs,
Toy cop.
whatever.
Yeah.
So when the Knicks had their full training camp there, they'd have real security, but they allowed me to be the security guard for rookie camp. Rookie camp was 2 players who both played in the NBA for a brief time. Maybe you remember them. Greg Butler, who was a center, and Brian Quinnett, who was a forward.
Yeah, I remember.
Ham and Eggers, right? Like bottom of the rotation guys.
Ham and Eggers.
Ham and Eggers.
Crazy.
Okay, these guys were like lowest tier NBA players. Okay, and they were a center and a power forward.
Right.
And I got to watch them practice. One time I played is a air quotes, a 2-on-2 with them and one of their like trainers. They let me play with them. We were just like shooting around, whatever. It was fun. But those 2 guys, bottom of the barrel NBA, and this is 1990, so it wasn't like three-point shooting was what it is now.
Right.
And these guys never shot threes in a game, and yet they made every three in practice.
Because they
didn't miss a shot.
There's no such thing as bottom of the barrel. The last guy,
comparatively,
the last guy can play.
Right, and that's what told me. I was like, oh my God, and especially basketball, because baseball, you got a 25, 26-man roster. Football, you got a 50. In basketball, it's only a 15-man roster.
Listen, them D1, D2 dudes in basketball will put buckets on you. You might not score. D2.
Yeah.
No, they not missing nothing. When you get to the highest level, that's why I love Tyvis. I love him. He's like, I can hit a major league. Listen, you won't see the ball. They'll tell you what's coming.
Look into the camera. Look into the camera. Tell Tyvis that, please.
Tyvis, don't do that to yourself, man. These boys is throwing smoke. They will brush you off the plate. And matter of fact, you'd have to tell them no breaking pitches. They might throw you all breaking pitches.
You can take the worst pitcher in the big leagues.
Tell them this is not Bedford High.
This is not Bedford. This is not Chanel. This is not Olin Tangi Commons. This is not Sisters of the Poor. You will get messed up. And by the way, too, Tyvis, I don't know if you got a toss. If they gave you the ball in the backfield, that might be ugly too.
Yeah.
That might.
When Tyvis is in on Wednesday, I'll play. When I was in Texas, I did Aggie Sports Challenges, and I challenged. I think I sent this to you, Jay.
Yeah, we talked about this.
But I tried to hit Bryce Miller, who's now the number 4 prospect in the Mariners system. I get Bryce on the show, and they play Cleveland. He's the number 4 prospect. He throws 100 now. He's throwing 97 in college, and I had 10 pitches to try and hit it. I wasn't even close, and I fell on the slider. He didn't tell me a slider was coming, and I literally swung around and fell. And we'll play that video for Tyvis either this
joke,
Wednesday.
man.
They don't know how fast
No
85 in the batting cages is.
Hey,
You go to
85
swinging
will get on you
things.
quick.
See, you go to swings and things, dog. You mess up Grand Slam USA. That thing is coming 85 miles an hour. You better be stepping right now.
There's 2 sounds you hear when you go to those cages.
Yeah, that's what you hear. That's right.
And that's it. And I'm not. And
You're not joking.
I love going to those because I go a lot. And we hit at some indoor cages where it's a little more structured. But I love my favorite thing in the world to do, and now I can record it, is see that dude stroll up on a date. Yeah, babe. I mean, if my coach would have played me, we'd have won the States, Uncle Rico style. And he grabs that bat. It's like a 30-40. He has no idea what he's doing. Got his batting gloves on, maybe even a wristband.
You gotta lock him first.
This is
Lock him.
This is 85, baby. I'm gonna tear this up. And then the next thing you hear,
Got you.
Ain't that leather.
oftentimes the first pitch, they don't even swing because it's over before they even know it's coming.
Blink. Pow! Listen, it ain't even.
And that's 85.
That's 80. That's a break. That's a breaking pitch.
Now step up there and hit 101 when there's a possibility that he might throw a 91 slider on the outside corner.
It's
hardest thing to do in all of sports.
So let's ask Brad this. Brad, what's more incredulous of a take? Tyvis thinking he can hit an NBA fastball and slider.
Hold on. NBA,
or what G. Bush said last week.
MLB.
In the MLB.
Okay.
Or what G. Bush said last week, and here's the clip.
Okay.
Listen, no disrespect. Bill Russell, what he did, listen, for African Americans and trying to be like living in Boston, I couldn't even imagine that, right? But let's be clear, he is not in the debate for the best player of all time. He's just not. I think you're just trying to be facetious and funny and pick somebody. When people pick Wilt Chamberlain, I'm like, okay, you pick Wilt Chamberlain, he scored 100 points. I could low-key try to see that. But here's the thing. These dudes was playing against Mikey McNuggets.
I think you're overstating.
No,
I'm not. I think what it is he won a lot, but he played for an organization that was the Yankees.
I think the generation before Russell and Wilt, you could make that argument. I think it started to change around the time.
There's 2 black guys.
No, they weren't the only 2 black guys.
They were just they were physically so much superior to what was in the league. They changed the way teams built their teams.
Yeah.
And they changed rules.
To me, the 60s is the divide. Anything before the 60s, I don't care about.
If you're the player coach, that's you gonna.
Hey,
man was a player coach.
Pete Rose was a player coach much more recently than that.
Frank Robinson did it here.
That's how, listen. That should disqualify you if they let you have 2 payrolls and you was telling people.
But that was just about being cheap.
Hey, Jay, get out. You out. I'm in.
By the way, whenever you start a sentence with no disrespect, but you're about to disrespect.
Here it comes.
Hold on. Mikey, you want my answer?
Please, I was saving that clip just for you, Brad.
Okay, well, clear the runway, baby.
There you go, dog.
Clear the runway.
How well did you know Bill Russell, by the way?
Just passing and happening.
He think you old as heck.
Yeah, I know, right? So let me get to.
I didn't think he was playing with him. I know he's.
Let me get to my man G.
Yeah.
So G, that's my main man out here, but I'm sorry, G. I'm sorry, you making me choke. Bill Russell was a beast.
Okay, yeah, he was.
Just check it, right?
Is he in the debate for the greatest
He
player
has
of all
to
time?
be.
Okay.
The stuff he was doing, right? Now he's not the greatest.
Okay.
No, his point
you
was
have to bring his
he
name.
shouldn't be in the debate.
You have to bring his name up, right?
Okay.
And anybody that played in that era and after who saw it and experienced it, it's amazing to me, right?
Okay.
I hear people all talk all the time about these guys in the league and what they do, right? You ever played one of them? They'll kill you.
Yeah.
They'll kill you. They'll kill you.
He smoked me.
They'll kill you, right?
Look at the rebound.
And here's the other
Look
thing.
at the rebounds
Let me tell you the thing he was.
Crazy.
He was a tough SOB too.
Yeah.
Tough. In a time where, when the Lakers and Celtics got together and they were supposed to be the mortal enemies, right? Wilt goes to the hotel. Let me pick you up so you ain't got to stay in this raggedy hotel. You come stay at my house.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Wilt pick him up and stay at the house with Wilt. Then they drop him back off, right? Because Wilt wasn't going to let him stay in a hotel like that, right? Especially where they wasn't giving him good service. You come to my house. You stay with me.
Wow.
They don't tell you about that, right? And then they would go out there and they would play like they were mortal enemies against one another.
They hated each other.
That's how they did. But you didn't know the backstory that was going on.
I'd never heard that before.
That was
isn't he the ultimate winner in team sports?
Yeah, and let me tell you,
11 championships.
And how
right?
do I know this? When I was playing in Seattle under Bernie Bickerstaff, JB's daddy, right? Guess who the assistant coach was? Casey Jones.
Oh, wow.
So I was there. You could pick Casey's brain. Absolutely. And they'd tell you
That's
things.
like talking to a history book.
They tell you things that was going on that you have no appreciation for because it was not in your purview. You never knew it was going on.
Right.
So Bill Russell, although not the greatest, he in the conversation, not going to be the greatest.
Right.
But you can't have no conversation. You can't have any conversation without Bill Russell being at least mentioned.
Well,
And it's not because they won all those championships with Havlicek and all the rest of it. It's not that. He was the de facto soul of the Boston Celtics at a time where people didn't want him to be the de facto soul of the Boston Celtics.
Exactly right.
Right?
Yeah.
By the way, in 1960, 20% of the players were black. 1960.
Okay.
By 1970, it was 50%.
So,
How about that, G? Wilt had to pick up Bill Russell to stay at Wilt's house.
Yeah,
That's
crazy.
Well, that's a heartbreaking story to me. It is, but I think I've told it on the show. Larry Doby, who broke the color barrier, obviously in the American League. There's a famous story that he tells about playing in Washington, and he couldn't stay at the team hotel, so he had to find his own transportation, Brad, to the game, and he called for a cab. And the cab wouldn't pick him up when he got there and found out that he was a black man. So now just put this image in your mind for a second, and then imagine going out and playing a baseball game after this. He had to put on his entire uniform at the hotel, including his spikes, and walk to the stadium because nobody would pick him up.
Oh, listen.
I give y'all that work. Listen, when you talk about historical content, the game of basketball cannot be mentioned without Bill Russell. Just for this, we talk about the color barrier. We talk about that. That's part of it. But when you specifically talk,
you look at the numbers.
I'm looking at the numbers.
I got you.
Yeah, his score. He wasn't I don't think he personally. I think G's right that he doesn't belong in a conversation with Michael and And LeBron, I don't think he belongs in that conversation. But certainly if you talk about the 10 greatest players in the history of the game, he belongs in that conversation, especially because you think about it. A lot of us people that are young probably think, or somewhat young, think of Dennis Rodman as the greatest rebounder you've ever seen.
Oh, no.
Bill Russell averaged 12 more rebounds per game in his career than Dennis Rodman.
That speaks to the fact that he was such a physical stature.
Right.
And the league wasn't littered with 7-footers then.
They say when Chamberlain entered the league in 1960, there were only 4 players in the league that were taller than 6'8", including Wilt at 7'1" and Russell at 6'9".
That's my point.
Yeah. Also, there was less than 10 teams during most of his career in the league when Russell played. So now there are what, 28?
Yeah, that's why the Celtics won so many championships, because they were the elite organization, but there were so few teams.
So go back to this, because I get where you're coming from, right? So I'm not trying to invalidate that, right? That you can have that discussion. Go back to the other thing I was talking about before, because I saw a thing on Instagram. A guy laid out a case. Jordan versus LeBron. 14 years versus 20. And what Jordan had racked up versus what LeBron had racked up in 20. It's not even close. It's not even close.
What do you mean?
All the things Jordan had accomplished in 14 years, 6 less years than LeBron. He is dwarfing him.
Dwarfing him in what? Besides championships.
So here, defensive player of the year, MVPs, scoring titles. There was a list of things. It caught my eye.
But LeBron, but MVPs now, it's like there's been LeBron should have won more MVPs than he did. They just voted for other people.
No, let me just tell you something. If you if you were there, right, and saw it, right, because I've seen them both, right. I've called more stuff for the Cavs, right, than I've seen Jordan. Okay, and I will just
that is crazy.
And I will tell you, and this is no slight against LeBron. It's not. The eye test, it goes one way. One way, right? And then when I saw it, and I had said that before, but when I saw the guy,
you said in 14, right?
Yeah, 14, laid it out in 14 seasons, pound for pound. I was like, whoa, whoa.
The accolades, though, again, there was less competition.
But let me give you this.
No, it wasn't. It might have been less competition, but the competition was better.
But let me give you this. You do know, like, when people bring up the disparity in the years that they played, well, that's not necessarily because it was out of Jordan's hands. You got to look at it. From 92 to 94, he played baseball.
Yeah.
2 seasons there. He went and retired in 97. He came back in 01. That's 4 years right there.
Right.
Obviously, if Michael Jordan in his last 2 years is averaging 23 points a game and 20 in his last year, obviously he could have played those 4 years from 97 to 2001.
Without question.
Without question. When he left at the peak of his powers at 92, he was averaging 33 a game in 92. He took 2 years off, came back and averaged 27 a game. So as you can see, that was mental fatigue. He
wore down.
He took himself mentally out of the game because he was going through different things in his life. For LeBron, he must get credit for the fact that he did do 20 straight.
I've seen some of the greats, right? I've seen some of the greats and played along against some of the greats, and I've watched some of these greats now, because there's some greats now. There has never been one man that I played against or with that I actually just watched him play, right? When you're on the floor. With Jordan, you watched him play. You were there.
You didn't want to miss anything.
You're watching this thing like, this is unbelievable. I mean, I could pull some tapes about my first 2 or 3 years in Chicago. The stuff he was doing was mind-boggling. Mind-boggling. I'll give you one for example. Remember when he did the dunk contest in Seattle? Won the dunk contest in Seattle with the lay-down dunk? Mm-hmm. So after practice one day, he's like this. It's just he and I afterwards. He's like, hey, stay around, because I got to get warmed up for this dunk contest. I said, so I'm playing around. I'm like, okay, what are you talking about, right? What are you going to do? I don't know what I'm going to do. I said, well, what do you got in your bag? So if you imagine where the NBA basket is, I'm going to just give you this one dunk he did, just off the fly. He was just thinking it up. the basket is here, and then there's about a 2-foot difference between where under the net and the baseline, because there's a space under the baseline, right?
Yep.
He stood both feet on the baseline, out of bounds, at the line, facing the basket, which is straight ahead of you, right? It's just 2 feet ahead of you. From a broad jump. Not a
No
run
step
start.
into it.
No step into it, just a broad jump.
It's crazy.
Takes the ball
It's crazy.
and does a 360. So you're 360 and out, not up, out and up. Wow. Right? Throws this thing down so hard. I do like that. What is this?
Did he ever do that in a contest? I don't remember that.
No, he just was making the stuff up.
And that was one that didn't even make it.
Yes. I was like,
Hey, now,
oh my God. I was like,
OG,
All right,
I
eye
want to.
test, Bird or Magic?
Magic.
That's magic.
Magic.
Yeah, Magic for me
Magic.
too.
Bird, tight. It's
But
tight.
Bird as a
It's
competitor.
Tight. It's tight. Because Magic and Bird, that's tight. That's the two different beasts, right?
Yeah.
But that was some good basketball them days.
Oh,
that was some good
that-
basketball.
for me, that was my
That was a
favorite
good basketball.
I also put them in two different separate categories, right? To me, if you asking me if it was a player, I would say LeBron by a whisker. But the crazy part about it is when you say impact, significance, cultural icon, Michael Jordan is never going to be passed, ever, just because there's an industry. He saved shoes.
They're making a movie on it.
I saw that.
They ran the commercial last
I
night.
saw
It
it.
looks
Great.
And
Looks
guess what?
awesome.
And Michael Jordan's so impactful. A bunch of people was in a basement of a very nice house, might I add. Watching TV in the Super Bowl, we all chatting different conversations here.
Had a very nice house, you might
Very,
add.
very nice house, might I add.
Very nice house, can't confirm.
Spacious,
Can't confirm.
palatial. It was
Fellatio.
Yeah, it was crazy. The gardener came back later.
I think
he
it has
said-
a helicopter pad in the,
Yeah, it
in
was
the
crazy.
backyard.
But we were sitting there all having our little conversations, and that commercial came
this is
on,
fact.
and everybody shut up. Was
We
like
all
this.
stopped.
Everybody.
I did like this when I was
Even
watching.
Jason's kid, who's 12 years old, who is the biggest, oldest, deepest voiced 12-year-old in the history of America, was like, Michael Jordan, gotta watch.
And we was watching.
like-
all did.
And it
I
was
like,
just.
what, I was like, first I was like, what is this? What is
What
this?
is going on with this?
And
What's-
Ben Affleck plays Phil Knight, which is
Yeah.
hysterical.
And I think is Regina
No,
Viola.
Viola Davis.
is
Mrs.
Michael
Mrs. Jordan.
Jordan's mom.
Yeah.
I can't wait to see that.
That woman.
I'm gonna just tell you though, there are and Mikey, maybe not today. This week, let's see if we can find a thing on Instagram, right? I want to.
Okay, we'll look for it. On the Bill Russell thing.
On the Jordan LeBron thing.
Oh,
Well, I got
okay.
one more for you. I got one more quickie for you. Patrick Ewing, Shaquille O'Neal,
Not close.
David Robinson, Hakeem Olajuwon.
Hakeem Olajuwon.
Hakeem and Shaq are in a different level than
Yeah, I like
yeah,
Shaq.
yeah.
I think I'm taking Shaq.
Patrick Ewing was pretty damn good, man.
No, I'm not saying.
Yeah.
Patrick was a beast. He just couldn't get over the hump.
Was there ever a better college player than Patrick Ewing?
Shaq.
Lou Alcindor wasn't
Yeah,
bad.
yeah.
Hey, let me read this stat from Steve,
He was tough.
our coordinating producer.
Jordan-
This
And
is
then,
great.
and then I got to do what the internet says.
Steve
played
says
Georgetown.
amazingly, LeBron's winning percentage is 65.4%. Jordan's is 65.9%. That's nuts.
But
Two
by the way,
elite
one of my
winners.
all-time favorite players also, who we haven't mentioned, who's a Hall of Famer, and I think one of the most underrated players in the NBA, my man Chris Mullen.
The
Mully
lefty.
was good.
He was a
St.
great shooter.
John's.
Mully was good.
I like him.
He was on the Dream Team.
I
People
like
don't
him.
remember.
Mully was
I like
good.
Chris Mullen.
I got to get this in. This is
Sorry,
still
let's go.
basketball related,
Get-
and it's what the internet says today. And whenever we talk about what the internet says, it's brought to us by PCC Airfoils. Looking for a job with career advancement and great benefits? PCC Airfoils is a leading manufacturer in Northeast Ohio. All locations of PCC Airfoils in Eastlake, Menor, Wickliffe, Minerva are hiring for all positions starting at $18 and up, plus full benefit packages, paid time off, and signing bonuses. You can apply online at precast.com/careers to learn more. So as we all know, the NBA's All-Star Weekend kicks off this weekend. Cavs' last game before the All-Star
The
Weekend.
least exciting
Jay
place.
knows where this is going.
This is, and I'm saying it's not an accident.
Well,
What?
we'll get to there. But as you guys know, if the Cavs beat the Spurs tonight, they play Philadelphia on Wednesday. That'll be a third-place game. Now, All-Star logos and games are all interesting. Now, Jay, you were duped.
It wasn't real
Let's show you the real logo.
because it can't be real.
It's not real. This is the real logo.
So what I said was that can't be an accident. If someone did that, they did it on purpose.
They did it on purpose. This is the real logo for the All-Star game this weekend.
I'm glad to see that. That's as logos go, it's not offensive.
As of 10 minutes ago, I thought what we're about to show you was real. And then I just
until right now, I thought it was
I should
too.
confirm. This is what went viral this weekend, guys. Steve, don't take it yet, or take it, whatever. This is what went viral this weekend. What? Do you guys see something wrong with this, Brad? G?
Well, of course, you can't miss it.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
The Salt Lake,
Slut.
Utah is basically slut.
Yeah, I got it. I got it.
Yeah, and honest to God, when I
This
saw
went
that this
mega
morning,
viral.
because I saw it this morning,
Mega viral.
I literally looked at it and I said, okay, there's no way that this happens
No.
unless it was intentional.
No.
Because, I mean,
the league wouldn't do
Bull's son would look at that and say, oh, no, we're not having that.
We can't.
We're not
get
having
off.
that.
That's funny.
We can't get that off.
that. Yeah.
Allegedly.
But you know what? It was a pretty good punk.
It went so viral that not only did it dupe, well, I just confirmed it's not real. I had my suspicions. I didn't look until now. A lot of major outlets ran with it.
Oh,
God.
A lot of major outlets ran with it.
No.
Don't
And
that hurt?
it took 2 Google searches to figure out that it wasn't real and what the
Well,
real logo is.
The outlets went with it because, the day of the old school reporter who did their homework.
Yeah,
is
that's gone now.
That's gone.
Yeah.
Right.
I bet that was retweeted by
Guess what the reach was? To give you context,
Millions.
When G. Bush's rant went viral, it's a video versus
Yeah.
a picture, so that's
Yeah.
views versus impressions.
Sure.
I'll give you the impression number on G. Bush's thing. Give me 1 sec to find it, and I'll compare it. So you guys got to talk for 2 seconds.
this is going to be millions for sure. I mean, unquestionably.
way over. It got
When I-
8.3 million views.
When I
which is,
saw
that's
it,
crazy.
my original reaction was, like I said,
Like somebody got.
this is intentional.
Somebody
They
got
didn't do this.
Somebody got to take that down, bro.
That's somebody. That's somebody.
who is that?
That's somebody gaming the system. That's
Right.
all it is. Because as soon as
But you know what? I mean, I guarantee you there were tons of blue checks that retweeted that.
Yeah,
as it
because-
Well,
was real.
blue checks are meaningless now.
No, I know they are.
Now
You can
random
buy them
Joes
now,
have
but
blue
because people don't do their homework anymore.
yeah, no,
right?
they don't.
They don't.
They hear it or see it on social.
Oh,
and
it's
they
the guy.
repeat it,
It's the truth.
and it's awful. It's absolutely awful.
You got it, Mike?
yeah, impressions for G. Bush's rant was 26.9 million.
Gee, many Christmas.
Impressions. This, which is just a picture, a little different, did 17 million impressions over the weekend.
That's just a picture.
And it's just getting started. It'll do
off the
more
one
today.
off the one tweet. This was on a couple of tweets, so you probably add it all together even more.
So the person who originally tweeted, like, do they get? So let me ask you this: do you think they'll get followers off that?
No.
There is a translation, and I don't know what it is. Our social media folks at ESPN always used to say, like, the reason they want you to tweet volume is because it's that total number of impressions and views that will eventually drive followers. Likes and retweets help too. But the math equation to it was, I'm like, I'm not going to tweet.
minuscule.
I'm sorry.
I mean, you
so
gotta tweet
small.
You gotta tweet so much, and then it's
Yes.
like, and then afterwards,
And then you become the boy who cried wolf.
Yeah.
Like,
Ain't
we
nobody
had
trying
guys
to
that were
see you.
tweeting 20 times a day. I'm like,
how do y'all do
at
that?
some point, just go in
Yeah.
the closet and say that out loud. It's having the
For
same
context,
impact.
guys, the woman who tweeted it, by the way, is a woman, has 864 followers.
Yeah.
I don't know what she had before the weekend,
Yeah.
but that thing was seen over almost 20 million times, and she has 800
Jeez.
followers.
Mike, I'd like to do a quick final take if we have time.
Yes, please. All you, Bull.
Guys, I think this is really important. The fact that what's going on in East Palestine, Ohio, which is about 70 miles from here, is not a bigger story is really alarming. I don't know if everybody's following what's happening here or has seen the pictures of the black cloud that looks like a nuclear bomb went off in the rural town of East Palestine, Ohio, which is what?
It's actually pronounced Palestine.
Palestine?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
Yeah. No, it's okay.
Now I'm screwing it up. Is it East
Palestine.
East Palestine, Ohio. It's southeast of here.
Yes. On the
Right,
Ohio
it's
River.
like south of Youngstown.
Close to the Ohio River.
Right.
Yeah.
Just near that. This is an epic disaster. The train company apparently wanted to give them like just a few dollars for this. This is like the regulations, apparently I was reading about like how fast these trains could go and stuff, have been messed with. It's a freaking disgrace The fact that we got our 2 senators, and I'm being an equal opportunity because one's a Republican and one's a Democrat, tweeting about Travis Kelce and Mexican freaking pizza yesterday, and not about what's happening in this town where these people's chickens are dying. Who knows what's happening to the water in the Ohio River? And it could, listen, I'm no scientist. I don't know the fallout. But it seems to me, a layman who knows very little but just reading articles, that you'd think that we'd be more worried about taking care of this and doing something, declaring a national emergency maybe, rather than arresting reporters that are covering the story.
Well,
this is a disgrace.
Did you see the reporter arrest? Like, we have video. Our reporter from upstairs, Channel 3, Neil, was at the scene, and Neil Fisher, and he videotaped it with his phone. He saw the whole thing. So what happens at news conferences oftentimes is reporters have different times when they're scheduled to go live. His live hit was 5:08. The governor was supposed to start speaking at 3. And the fact that he didn't told me this isn't good.
Yeah.
When he finally came out at after 5 o'clock, he said, nothing to see here. We sent everybody back to their home. There was some toxicity in the water that's lethal to fish, but not to humans. That was a red flag. But this reporter from News Nation, it's a national thing out of Chicago. That's the one that hired Chris Cuomo. He started going live, and the sheriffs there said, oh, you can't go live because that was the deal. But he kept going, and then he resisted, which was why he was arrested. He wasn't like digging for facts, and they were trying to shut him down.
He should have never been arrested either way.
No, it was way overreaction.
And the bigger story is what's going on here. We need to all be talking about this.
That is a big story, and it's not going away.
It's horrible. It's
10
so
seconds.
scary.
Yeah. We're out. We're going to overtime. We'll see you tomorrow on the Ultimate Cleveland Sports Show. Thanks for watching today.